It's go time, Joby Aviation. This second quarter, 2026 financial earnings, and we're live. At last, we're back. We're live after a horrendous day yesterday. Um, I am repeating. Let me stop that there. There we go. So, after a horrendous day yesterday, to do with the channel, the stock market was absolutely flying, but we had I don't know, someone done a coordinated compromise of the Hustle Brothers. We got taken down completely, our account banned. I thought I wasn't going to make it to Joby earnings. Thankfully, YouTube made everything right just before I went to bed last night. So yeah, we're back. We're here. Dylan's just in the background there getting ready. We're excited as ever. It's what, 2 years anniversary since I done my first live stream. Yeah, it was Q2 2024, first live stream, Joby Aviation. Can't believe it. 2 years of covering this eVTOL sector live. We did make videos slightly before that, but here we go. Guys, jump in, smash that like button as soon as you can. I'm just going to throw Dylan straight into the stream there. Dylan, how are we getting on, my guy?
Hey, Liam, doing well, man. We made it to another earnings call. I'm ready to do this with you, man. So you said this is 2 years now? Wow.
2 years live streaming these earnings, eVTOL Weekly. I think eVTOL Weekly maybe started 2 weeks after the Joby call, because I know Archer was the day after. I remember doing 2 earnings calls, one after the other, and it was my first ever live stream. I was like, it was mind-blowing. But no, we're here 2 years later. Guys, jump in, smash that like button. We will be doing a giveaway during this stream. To enter, it's completely free. Anyone who likes, you have to like, subscribe, and you also have to be here for the stream. The most engaged people will be selected for the free giveaway that I'll be doing. Also, let me know what you want to hear from the earnings call, guys. And also, I have a poll up there. Do we think we're going to be green or red after hours? Looking at it, we're currently sitting at 777. We're having a bit of a sell-off, 251. I'm going to be honest, guys. It's expected. After a day like yesterday, we had a massive rise up. And over the 5 days, we are up 16.99%. There's a sell-off across the market. It's just a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a breather after everyone buys. If we think about it, if something pushes up like a 10%, there's only so much capital people are going to keep throwing into this, and they're going to expect a pullback. Would you buy Joby at 10% the price it is today? Long-term investor is going to say yes, but you'd prefer to buy it at the price today. So if it pushes up 10%, people are waiting for that pullback, and that's exactly what's happening today. And we're getting a little bit of relief. Over the past 6 months, we are down 17.76%. Guys, I wouldn't worry too much, this 41% down year to date. We've said eVTOL seems to be the back end of the year. We seem to be flying up every year since I've covered it, put it that way. The second part of the year, we start to get a lot of excitement building around the industry. Joby is the front runner. Joby is what is pushing that excitement out towards the industry. We get a good earnings call here. Doesn't matter whether you're investing in Joby or not. Joby does well. Horizon Aircraft will do well. Vertical Aerospace will do well. Archer will do well. So we are all banking on Joby here to do well today. If they don't do well, it's going to pull down the whole industry. Joby is the front runner here, and we really need them to perform. Also, guys, as you're jumping in, this is zero ads, zero interruptions, only by the Hustle Brothers.
Nice.
Completely love it. Our busiest time of year, 4 times a year we get to do this. And I think let's make it the most streamlined experience for you. You don't want to be seeing ads while Joe Ben is talking about his latest plans for Joby. So this is going to be completely ad-free. However, if we get less than 100 likes at full ramp up, I might have to turn it to ads displaying. So let's get 100 likes very, very quickly. And also, again, jump in, keep smashing that like button. It really helps me out. And if you've already smashed it, down in the bottom right corner, you can keep smashing them reactions. It really helps us out. 57 people here at the moment. Dylan, I've done an awful lot of talking there. I'm just too excited. I've got my channel back. Well,
Nice,
I've got
man.
my channel back. We've got our channel back.
Oh my gosh, right?
Mate, that
Oh
was
my gosh.
stress during SpaceX
Yeah.
earnings.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was tuning in as a fan. I was like, oh, Liam's doing the SpaceX earnings. I'm gonna tune in. And it was like fade to black. And we're not gonna harp on it too much, but I was like, what did I do wrong on my phone? I'm like, what's going on? And I'll just speak from the heart really quick, man. My channel aside, which has its years of DD and such that have gone into it to be able to provide the information, to go to Liam's channel, to go to the Hustle Brothers and literally see the entire library of content wiped out, like that hit my heart, man. Like this isn't about me. And I'm not even saying this is about Liam. Like I think first and foremost, and we've been honest with this, is like this is about growing in a community and having like-minded enthusiasts and investors, if you choose to be, come together and have a space where, whether it's every Sunday with eVTOL Weekly, being able to like voice and venture your opinions on the sector or the market, be it good or bad. It's like we love that. Getting Liam back in the content game, recording the videos. So thank you to YouTube. I don't know if they'll ever hear this, but thank you for YouTube for doing what I feel was right and getting this page restored so we could do the Joby earnings call with you all. And I hope this is again one where it's super interactive. If you got questions in the chat, put them in there. I hope people in the chat are going back and forth and responding. I'll try to jump in there myself.
I want to try and respond to every single comment in the chat tonight. So to an extent, guys, be respectful. If you're being a complete clown, I'm not going to respond. But I want to respond to every single person in the chat. So feel free, any question, good or bad, about the industry, and keep it about the industry, please. Last thing I'm going to say on it, yes, I was completely gutted, especially with Joby earnings around the corner.
Yeah.
It's like 4 times a year in each company, we get this excitement, this anticipation. We build up, we've been talking about it for the last 3 weeks about this live stream, and it just felt like it was all pulled away from me in the middle of a SpaceX live stream. To be fair, I'm not invested in SpaceX, so I was like, oh, maybe if I didn't do that, maybe it wouldn't.
You always are gonna think that, right? Isn't that's always that?
And you know the worst thing? My brother actually said to me too. He was like, "Oh, you're only about 5,000 subs. YouTube might not even care. They might not even look at it." And I was like,
"Oh, for the content put up, yeah, man." Well, shout out to YouTube for caring about a community that I think literally does hold the majority of the enthusiasts. So again, thank you for everybody who is already here. And, I think the party will keep growing because like Liam said, these are these little mini Super Bowls that we get throughout the year where, we get the PR throughout the 3 months in between the earnings calls. We get some guidance. We get to do a little bit of speculation. We get to track the tail numbers. But again, this is the time where we get, we get a prepared remark from the CEO to start the call off. So today we'll be getting Joe Ben's prepared remark and how he feels about his company's execution over the last 3 quarters, and possibly also a little bit of insight into early guidance of what could be coming for us as we enter this next quarter of business as well. So interested to hear what he has to say on the prepared remarks, and I think with time we'll get into a little bit of that as well, or maybe some hypotheses going into that. But this is that time again where we get to let Joe Ben take the mic and really stand up and be proud of what he has to say for his company.
Andrew, hey Liam. Here's to our great Joby Earnings live show. I'm glad everything got sorted on your channel yesterday. Thank you so much, my brother. I love the support we were all getting. Guys, let's talk about eVTOLs. I know that's why 121 of you here keep smashing that like button. Really helps out. Good vibes. What are you most curious to hear from the earnings call? It's actually a good question for the chat as well. What am I most curious to hear? We want to hear about type conforming aircraft. Really need to hear about that. I'm actually very excited to hear about the infrastructure ramp up too, because it was only yesterday we heard about Atom. I want to hear a little bit more about the deepening of that partnership with Toyota that happened this quarter. Do I want to hear a bit about military? I don't actually think, and this is not a bad thing on Joby at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I don't think
Interesting.
Joby's main goal is going down that military. I think that is an asset that they have and it's a string to their bow. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't think we're going to hear too much about the military. And that doesn't bother me that we don't hear about the military from Joe Bent. They seem to be go, go, go for commercial output. So any sort of progress we're seeing with the EIPP, what can we expect next? Yes, are we still looking for certification this year? Or is it what we have predicted for the last, I don't know, 6 months now, that certification will push through to 2027? That's not a bad thing. Again, when we were calling for certification, we didn't know about this EIPP program.
Mm-hmm.
Now that EIPP is out, I genuinely think that, look, it's a way of getting yourself out there to the public without being certified.
I
So,
was gonna say almost like a mini certification
yeah.
in a sense, Liam. It's almost like we get the SFAR of certifications through the EIPP. So, not to cut you off, so cut me off, please, again. But yeah, it's kind of
Electric
almost like
Whisper has actually jumped into the comment there. The FAA
yeah.
is delaying certification on purpose, trust me. And I do think it
Mm.
is being delayed in conjunction with this EIPP. I genuinely do. We've only seen, was it this quarter, that they've changed the guidelines to get through to certification. So
Mhm.
I'm not actually, I know I have been pushing for certification for 2 years, but I'm
Sure.
at that stage now that mass rollout, I've said it, I've banged on about it many times. I don't think
Mhm.
mass rollout is happening until EIPP comes to its conclusion. And again, commercial
Mhm.
operations. Myself and yourself were speaking about commercial operations.
Yeah.
I think it was offline. Don't know, and I need to credit Dylan for this. This is not my fault, but
Alright, let's see.
commercial operations, that doesn't guarantee passenger flights either. Commercial
Mm.
operations, any sort of commercial operation. So any cargo, any um,
Mhm.
medical transport, that is also commercial operations. And I think that is a bit of, I don't know, litigation or that people are just overlooking a little bit. So let's not get too worried if we don't hear about passenger operations in this quarter. However, we did,
Mhm.
the last quarter, they were still pushing for passenger operations
There you go.
in Dubai.
There you go.
So maybe we won't get it in the US, but are they still on track for Dubai?
Mm.
Um, I need to be very careful what I say because I know YouTube is very hot on the topic lately, but that conflict happening in the Middle East, it seems to be relieving a little bit between the actual countries in close proximity to each other. It seems to be more US and Iran now, and Israel, etc. But Dubai and that, I think, is getting a little bit safer there. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do go in.
Well, and the backing on that, I think we see the continued, like you say, the infrastructure build out that is going on non-US soil. So I think it was one of those things months ago we really questioned was that projects that were going to be able to continue during the mist. And we saw really that even I think as of last quarter, continue to push out in the UAE vertiports and that build out. Oh, Sky Sports, that's the one I was thinking of, was able to actually be completed. And I think, like you say, Liam, I think again, we've heard for a lot of quarters that, certification and passenger services are coming. So I think again, this is where we really listen to what the CEO is saying. And because I know once we get off these calls and a month goes by, 2 months goes by, that kind of hive mind can get going. And it's almost like, did we hear it on the call or
Yeah.
is that what now we hear in the community? So I think it will be interesting. And like you say, when they speak to UAE and Dubai, will that be stated as commercial passenger services that they're entering? And then again, just like you say on the US side, I think we really broaden what to be revenue earning commercial services could be. And those don't have to include the passenger. and speaks to, as well as some of the EIPP plans of what, EIPP and also the Electric Skies Tour of what Joe Ben spoke of, the autonomous actually coming within 5 years. So it's again this industry that's interesting, where it was maybe sold to earlier investors as a piloted aircraft that will be passengering 4 people, and that's your commercial air taxi service, and that's what you're investing in.
I'm just going to cut you off there. Closing
Always.
bell. We've hit 780, guys. 780,
Okay.
and we will see where we move now.
I
know last time they released their press release more or less straight away.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep an eye on it. Guys, there's only 9 likes at the moment, and there's 141 people here. If we don't get 50 likes in the next 2 minutes, I'm turning ads back on. So please jump in, smash that like button. We don't get paid for this. You can at least like the stream, please. Thank you. Bag of Holding, big shout out, Mike. You've been here the whole 2.5 years.
Man, I know. Bag is the I can't wait to meet him in person.
Big shout out, Nick Sparky. Good macro, go green, Joby. Let's fly. Is there extra $14 yet? Where's Go at? I'll be honest with you, Mike. I can't pronounce your name. Sorry. My channel went down yesterday. Selfishly, I haven't reached out to anyone. Dylan struggled to get hold of me when that was happening. So I know Goat did put out a video, and he said he's doing a breakdown of Joby after. So make sure you check that out. Liam says up or down. I believe we're going to go down.
Yeah, that's a fair answer.
Depending on macro.
It's a tough one. You know, I mean, what's the implied move? I'm thinking between 5 and 8%.
Are we going to get anything surprising?
You know, I think for me, what I'm really interested in is, you know, I feel like as of the last month or two, this open source geeks model has really started to kind of rise to the top. And speaking of it being open source, so the infrastructure is being built. We're seeing presentations, we're seeing maps of other structures are being built. But I'm really curious to see if Joby has any other eVTOL operators in the pipeline in which they've spoken to and either gotten them to think about doing a conversion over to Geeks charging, and really figuring out how best to use that open source model. And maybe again have that be something as we see with Beta, where they're really looking to almost have a charging division, it seems like, of their company. So in that, with Joby, again, if it's not an S4 charging off of a Geeks charging system, is that something that you can also bring revenue in and start to offset costs of either the build, the MRO and such, and also maybe getting an idea of when we get the build. And I'm really also wanting to hear about the build out for 2027. And I know sometimes in the shareholder letter, we'll get some pictures of some of the fabs in the factories and the fabs and such. So I am curious, even if it's a quick picture in the shareholder letter, to at least get a little bit of a visual of some of the ramp or the CapEx that's gone into these infrastructures. Well, more meaning the where they're going to build the aircraft. So we kind of got like a dual infrastructure. We got the charging infrastructure, and then we have the manufacturing facilities that need to be procured and then built out. So I want to see if we can still hit that 4 aircraft a month in 2027. And I do think, like you say, Liam, with the EIPP as a backdrop, being able to really focus on, I think that gave a golden opportunity to not have this be so FAA certified constrained, and know that, again, we have a 3-year operational window where we are being able to have an opportunity to fly these aircraft. And again, in a layer of different missions and use cases throughout those.
By Cedric says, first time catching the live stream. Big shout out, my guy.
What's up, Cedric?
We are going to start rolling out our eVTOL weekly again. If you've seen, myself and Dylan have started pumping out an awful lot more joint collaboration videos. We're going to push through them. We have about 120 ideas ready to record. So anyone like Albio and Living Forever wants us to speak about eVair mobility, because you've called it out there, my guy, our next video is going to be on eVair mobility. Thank you so much. Guys, again, smash that like button. Really helps us out. There's only 13 of you that have hit that like button.
And I will say with Eve, really quick, not to forget, that was the third eVTOL player that was in the running when ASI and Palantir were tied with Joby and with Archer for modernizing the skies. So, yeah, I think you're right on that, Liam. Let's do that. Let's do that video.
Then the Electric Whisper says, I know what I know. Dubai is not safe at all. Ravi says, what your guys think of Beta Technologies news? I'll be honest, I haven't seen
the
news on Beta Technologies. Dylan, do you want to jump in and see if you can see it there? Andrew says, hey Dylan, great to see you live. Looking forward to your Eve video.
Yeah.
Rodney says, Joby is down 2.38%. $8 call, roll the bones. Right. I am very paranoid that here we go.
Oh, you got it. All right. And really quick, Beta was doing, I remember this, they're getting $1 billion cash inflow. We'll talk about more later. Yeah, that was actually really good for Beta. I remember this.
That is the shareholder letter, but where is their shareholder letter?
Let's see. Coming up soon. Liam's the pro in this. He'll have this up ASAP for you. But yeah, no, while he's grabbing that, Beta had an influx of money that came. And I keep saying with Beta, there's a reason that they don't have to hit the dilute button. And they probably have about the lowest outstanding share count out there on the market with these eVTOL companies. So yeah, Kyle Clark, he finds a way, whether it's, you got it? Yeah. And I'll pass it to Liam.
Here we go. Guys, can you read that okay? Do you need it zoomed in, zoomed out? Is that better? I might remove the chat for 1 second, guys, just so you can read this. So, shareholder letter Q2 2026. Guys, let me know if the volume okay for you too, and also smash that like button. So, the highlights of Q2. First EIPP flights expected in September, targeting the first passengers in 2026. So, again, do you know what? They've completely blown what I said out of the water. I said I wasn't really expecting passengers. I was expecting commercial operations. So they're saying first passengers in 2026. And guys, this does not mean they're targeting first passenger operations in September. They're expecting EIP flights in September, but they are targeting their first passengers in 2026. So don't be upset if it doesn't happen in September. We're just expecting the EIPP then. Strongest quarterly progress yet in 5th and final stage of FAA type certification. Let's hear more about that on the call. 5 aircraft flying and 12 more in production. Manufacturing ramp continues. We're going to hear more about Toyota there. Nice. Joint venture with Toyota lays groundwork for strategic manufacturing alliance and high volume production. And that's exactly what we want to hear. Strategic partnerships with Atoms to develop air taxi hubs across US launch markets. We heard all about that yesterday. 2.3 billion in cash and short-term investments as of June 30. Increased full year 2026 revenue outlook. Interesting. Oh, what are we looking at? Okay, it's down 1.9. Don't worry. Short-term sell-off after the market. Oh, so okay. Joe Biden's done something very, very similar to that Adam done. He's actually addressed the shareholders. So next month in Texas, we intend to take one of our most important steps yet towards commercial service. Over the course of the week, our electric air taxi will fly routes across Dallas-Fort Worth area, helping establish the routes and procedures needed for future commercial operations. The flights will take place under the White House-backed EIPP program and demonstrate how vertical lift can transform travel across major metropolitan areas. The value of vertical lift is something our Blade business proves every day. A year after we acquired it, Blade continues to gain momentum. The numbers of seats sold this quarter was up more than 50% year over year, representing the best Q2 on record and helping us raise our full year revenue outlook for the company. And that is extremely positive. Making the most of the opportunity presented by the EIPP program requires us to deliver on aircraft and infrastructure, and both are taking shape. Early production scaling is underway with 12 aircraft at various stages of production and 5 already in the air. During the quarter, we took a significant step forward in our long-standing relationship with Toyota, forming a joint venture designed to support high-volume commercial production and significantly de-risk one of the greatest challenges ahead of us. The network around those aircraft is taking shape too. Earlier this week, we announced a partnership with Atoms, the industrial AI and infrastructure company founded by Travis Kalanick. Travis has been all in on electric flight since our first jam session in 2015. The one that's seeded Uber Elevate, and we're now excited to be working together to deliver the next transportation revolution. Together, we plan to develop mobility hubs in Florida, New York, and Texas, all markets where we're planning to launch early operations under the EIPP program, as well as California. Across America, people are ready for that future, from the World Cup fans in Queens to aviation enthusiasts in Dayton and families on the National Mall. Our Electric Skies tour has allowed thousands of people to experience Joby up close and imagine where it could take them. After many years of building the aircraft, the infrastructure, the operating experience, and the customer demand are all coming together. We are closer than ever to turning electrical vertical flight from an extraordinary technology into everyday reality. Thank you for being part of it, Joe Ben. And if that doesn't excite you for this industry,
it's very nice.
That is more of a. I felt like Adams was explaining how the sector worked. This is getting you hyped about the sector. This is getting you very excited about investing in this space. If you have never heard of an electric air taxi or an electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle, this is the letter you need to show them. Joe Ben has smashed out of the park with that letter. And it wouldn't surprise me, does he read that in his opening remarks? So do be aware of that.
Reminds me of the confidence that he had. I believe it was Q2 of last year. It was Q2 or Q3 with the power on testing, but I think it was Q2. So yeah, Q2 seems like a confident quarter for Joe Ben. So I like it. Keep going, Liam. Sorry.
EIPP flights expected to begin next month. Earlier this year, Joby was selected as a partner in multiple successful applications under the White House-backed Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing Integration Pilot Program. The program provides an opportunity for us to begin early operations across 11 states with potential to significantly accelerate our path to commercial service. And guys, this is what I mean about there's commercial, there's type certification, and then there's actually fast tracking you through the EIPP program. And that's why I'm actually more focused on the EIPP than type certification. If type certification gets pushed out to 2027, as long as they're operating under EIPP, it doesn't bother me. Demonstration, like really, if you think about it, yeah, if you weren't involved in the EIPP and you got type certified, what's the point of flying one aircraft? Where under the EIPP, you can just fly the lot. So let's keep it moving forward. Demonstration flights in New York and the San Francisco Bay Area earlier this year showcased the operational program maturity required to participate, and we are now preparing to conduct our first flights under the EIPP program in September. As part of the Texas EIPP project, we intend to conduct a week-long campaign of piloted vertical takeoff and landing flights across Dallas-Fort Worth area that lays the groundwork for future commercial operations. Over time, and with extensive involvement and oversight from the FAA, we expect flights under the EIPP to progress from those with only a pilot on board to those carrying non-paying passengers and eventually paying passengers in preparation for those flights. We continue to target carrying our first passengers in 2026. And again, these will be non-paying passengers, but we're not expecting revenue from these flights. So do not panic. It's all coming together. We also plan to demonstrate our Superpilot autonomous flight technology in several states as part of the IPP work developed for defense applications. Superpilot enables a conventional Cessna Caravan aircraft to be flown fully autonomously. So they're your expected Joby EIPP operation states. Then building the infrastructure for commercial operations. The infrastructure required to support commercial air taxi operations is rapidly taking shape across their launch market. In the US, we announced a strategic partnership with Atoms, the industrial AI and infrastructure company founded by Travis, co-founder of Uber and CEO of Atoms, to develop and finance a network of transportation hubs serving air taxis and autonomous good vehicles. Our initial focus will be on sites in Florida, New York, and Texas. The same markets where Joby preparing to launch early operations under the IPP, as well as California. These hubs will combine takeoff, landing, and charging for the electric aircraft with charging and depot services for autonomous vehicles, sharing fixed costs, creating stronger operating economics, delivering seamless journeys for our customers, and even greater value for the communities in which they operate. Atoms recently raised $1.7 billion to support their growth, with lead investments from A16Z. In addition to our own progress on infrastructure, we continue to see accelerating momentum and investment by states, airports, and infrastructure partners around the world. Florida enacted legislation allowing the state to fund certain vertical projects at up to 100%, committing millions of dollars to activate new sites statewide, while Orlando is moving forward with developing a vertiport in the central terminal area of one of the country's busiest commercial airports. In Dubai, the second of 4 vertiports being built by our partners is nearly complete, and we continue to see meaningful progress of infrastructure in markets including Japan and the wider UAE, Korea, and Australia. Then, jumping down, they're preparing for customer operation. This is going to be an intense call. I'm liking this. We said going into the second half of the year, we're going to be excited. Did we expect it in Q2? Not
this early. No.
I'm excited. Preparing for customer operations. Oh, do you know what? Before we get into it, guys, shorts better be scared at this stage. And also smash that like button if you're enjoying this. It really helps us out. As we prepare for customer operations using Joby aircraft, we continue to build on the experience and capabilities of our Blade business. Nearly 1 year after the acquisition, Blade delivered year-over-year growth of more than 50% in seats flown across passenger services and generated $36.2 million in Q2 revenue. On many routes, aircraft availability rather than passenger demand is now the primary constraint on growth. And that is very exciting to hear for a potential air taxi business, that supply is completely up against the whole demand of this. The quarter included the highest number of new flyers using Blade New York airport services, while route expansions contributed to more than 40% year-over-year growth in Hampton's revenue, with Blade revenue growing 32% year-over-year in the first half of 2026. We are raising our total company full year revenue outlook to a range of $115 million to $125 million. And did we think we'd see that type of revenue in Joby this soon? We're drawing on Joby's relationships with Uber to drive additional demand, while a new partnership with Visa will provide Visa Infinite customers and business card holders with access to premium suite of benefits on Blade's airport service in New York. The same focus on preparing operating capability with established customer channels underpins their partnership with Virgin Atlantic Airways. In July, we signed a definitive multi-year agreement establishing Virgin Atlantic as Joby's exclusive airline partner in the UK, and I can't wait to use it. Virgin Atlantic will offer Joby service through its app and website, allowing customers to book air taxi connections alongside long-haul flights while supporting customer acquisition and infrastructure integration at its London and Manchester hubs. I cannot wait to step foot on that.
Very
the
nice.
first air taxi I step foot on is going to be a Virgin Atlantic S4, I do believe. So, advancing certification and rampant production. We continue to make important progress on certification and production as we look ahead to the opportunities presented by the EIPP. And guys, it's no coincidence that everything we hear is this EIPP. This EIPP, I couldn't stress how massive this was when it first came out. And future commercial operations. We made our strongest progress yet in the 5th and final stage of type certification and now have 5 electric air taxis flying, including the first FAA-conforming aircraft. 12 additional aircraft are in various stages of production, including 2 planned for delivery this year.
Okay.
During the quarter, we took a significant step forward in our relationship with Toyota, forming a joint venture that builds on more than 7 years of collaboration. Over that time, Toyota, the world's largest automaker, has worked alongside Joby to bring the best of automotive manufacturing to aviation. Its teams have gone deep with us on aviation level quality, and its engineers now work with ours every day on topics such as factory planning and design for manufacturability. The joint venture lays the groundwork for high volume commercial production and creates more of a capital efficient path to scale, while significantly reducing the risk of one of the greatest challenges ahead of us. By investing together in the people, facilities, and systems required for production, we will be able to create a manufacturing system designed to deliver exceptional quality and consistency at volume. That work will deepen further shortly, with senior Toyota manufacturing leader set to join our marine leadership team. Come on, Joby, you're just making me excited. This is our 5 stages of type certification. We've said before how we feel about this, so I'm not going to bang on about that too much. We're progressing. This stage 5 show and verify, we're expecting all 4 stages to be complete first before we start pushing heavily forward in the stage 5. But Joby seemed confident that they are going to get it closed out pretty soon. Hopefully we hear on the call when we expect them to close out type certification. So electric skies, and we've been hearing an awful lot about electric skies, guys.
Yeah, true.
As we prepare for commercial operations, our 2026 Electric Skies Tour is bringing Joby to the communities across the United States. In celebration of 250 years of American innovation, through flight demonstrations, aircraft displays, and simulator experiences at major events, the tour has given future customers the opportunity to experience the future of quiet all-electric flight firsthand.
Yeah.
And here we have a few different pictures. I actually have one of those meta glasses. They're class. Dylan, you're the specialist on financial updates. Do you want to speak us?
Yeah. Let me read a little bit, and I did try to pull just some key metrics for everybody. So I'll read through it, and then if we're short on time, I'll jump to key metrics. So, second quarter 2026 financial summary for Joby Aviation. In the second quarter of 2026, revenue totaled $38.6 million. Our net loss of $245.4 million primarily reflected a net operating loss of $260.9 million and other income of $15.6 million. Operating expenses for the quarter totaled $299.5 million and reflected costs to support certification and manufacturing of our aircraft and costs associated with the operation of Blade's passenger business. Expenses included stock-based compensation of approximately $52 million and other declaration and amortization of $11.9 million. Other income reflected the higher interest and other income of $18.9 million, partially offset with the loss of non-cash reevaluation of warrants, earnout shares, and contingent consideration of $3.3 million. And again, it's an interesting on those warrants. I know some people were hoping that the warrants would cash at $11.50. Some wanted them to crashed to 150. So again, with the warrants, if they weren't at the strike of 1150, they're not going to be bought up, yet at the same time those shares don't go on the market. So it's a trade-off where us as the investor, we're not getting the financial cushion of about an additional quarter with those warrants having that strike of 1150 and coming to expiration, I believe, on the 7th. Yet if they are not exercised, those additional shares won't be put onto the market and have obviously another 13, 14 million of shares on the market. So net losses in the second quarter of 2026 decreased by 79.2 million compared to the second quarter of 2025. That actually I'm impressed with, primarily driven by a $172.3 million improvement of other income. The primarily reflected of a $122.9 million reduction in losses from fair value adjustments on warrants, earnout shares, and contingent consideration. Net loss was also favorably impacted by $10.3 million, reflecting a $38.6 million increase in revenue, partially offset by a $28.3 million increase in cost of revenue, both primarily associated with the Blade business. These improvements were partially offset by higher operating expenses driven by a $58.3 million increase in research and development costs, so they put more in R&D, reflecting continued investment in support to support certification manufacturing readiness, and a $45.1 million increase in selling, general, and administrative expenses. So it's always interesting what can get put under SG&A and what gets tucked under there. Compared with the first quarter of 2026, our second quarter of 2026 net loss increased by $135.5 million from our net loss of $110 million to our, in the prior quarter. And also, if you remember, Rodrigo, I believe as the CFO was speaking, that they were only giving half-year financial guidance. So now that we're getting to that end, excuse me, of Q2, it will be interesting to see what that financial capex guidance that we're getting for the full rest of this financial year will be. So let's see down here. So again, some non-cash reevaluation loss on the warrants, earnout shares. Sorry about that. I got a quick thing that came up on my computer. Just got to exit out. So the higher loss of operations of $23.7 million compared with the first quarter of 2026 primarily reflected increased investments to support certification manufacturing and the Blade business, and legal costs partially offset by improved flight margin. So again, with the cash that Blade's spending, the cash that Joby's spending, be it on Blade, the R&D, the manufacturing, I think, again, as the investor, I think that's where you have to really have that be a part of your thesis, or be able, I don't even want to say buy into the story of it, but understand where this money is going and potentially where that ROI is to come off of the funds that are getting spent. Liam, remind me, do they kick it off at 4:30 usually on the dot, or do they?
Oh my God, I think it's 5 p.m.
Okay.
I'm nearly certain it's 5 p.m.
Okay, nice. Then we'll have some chance to go
over
some of this.
We're 5 p.m.
Okay, cool. Let's get back into some monies. So let's see. So that got all the legal costs and such. Okay. Adjusted EBITDA in the second quarter of 2026 was a loss of $197 million, primarily reflecting employee costs and support associated with the development, certification, and manufacturing of the aircraft and operations of Blade. The adjusted EBITDA loss was $65.5 million higher than the second quarter of 2025 and $19 million higher than the prior quarter. Adjusted EBITDA is a non-GAAP metric defined as net income loss before interest income, interest expense, income tax expense benefit, depreciation and amortization expense, stock-based compensation expenses, loss on common stock issuance in private placement, impact from reevaluation. And so basically, again, all this is saying is all that extra stuff that goes in that's not specifically talking about like the R&D and all that budget. We ended the second quarter of 2026 with a 2.3 billion. And this I'm rereading again because when I saw that in the opening, I was like, okay, 2.3 billion in cash equivalents, and investments in marketable securities. During Q2 2026, our use of cash and cash equivalents and short-term investments was $202 million, excluding the Q1 investment of $32 million in our Ohio factory. Our first half 2026 use of cash equivalents, and short-term investments totaled $365 million, in line with our guidance. So very nice on that. And let's see, our current outlook incorporates continued investment towards certification of our eVTOL aircraft, expansion of our manufacturing scale, and advancing our commercialization efforts, including the participation in the U.S. eVTOL Integrated Pilot Program. We are increasing our full year 2026 total revenue outlook to a range of 115 million to 125 million. And again, I think with the seasonality of Blade, again, you're going to see that revenue start coming in. And then as we get to 2027, let's see again these additional revenue sources. I'm really curious to see if Joby can also turn in as they start building out their aircraft, and maybe being a parts distributor if they can even do that or want that in their business fold. For the second half of 2026, we anticipate our use of cash equivalents, and short-term investments to be between 385 million and 415 million. So they got good cash to basically get them through if they're on that spend at 2.2 billion. Do about another let's call it 2 years on the safe side, but also taking in any acquisitions that could take some of that money away as they go through.
Thank you so much, Dylan. Now, guys, I want to do something. I want to do an experiment. This is the first time I have done this on an earnings call. So, instead of keep rambling numbers to you while you're watching YouTube and thinking you've done your due diligence by reading the balance sheet with us, what we're going to do, I'm going to display the balance sheet while the call is on. That way, you can reflect on the balance sheet, do your due diligence as well. And then myself and Dylan might actually do a breakdown video for anyone that's into learning about breaking down the whole balance sheet. However, I know a lot of people are here to hear our thoughts, hear the community's thoughts, and sometimes we get a drop off after the call. So we're going to talk now. We're going to talk now about our excitement. We have, about 30 minutes prior to the call. Guys, jump into the comments. Let us know. How are you feeling? To me, personally, I think this is one of the biggest earnings calls, biggest positive earnings calls I believe it will be for quite some time. I'm really, really excited to hear Joe Ben's enthusiasm now. Now we've got something to start barking about. eVTOL is only around the corner, and I am so excited. I'm going to jump into the comments up here. 2 seconds. Dylan, have you frozen?
I think so. I said I'm gonna log.
Sorry, guys. I think Dylan has lost connection there. Right, jumping back across. So, Randy Worms, great day for Horizon. Random. 12 more in production. Big excitement. Rodney says oil prices fell more than 5%, giving the entire airline and aviation sector a boost. The Electric Whisper says these are all strong updates. Joby is pulling far ahead of its peers, especially with autonomy. I didn't expect autonomy to come that quick. I remember when Joe Ben said, it was during his retail question, I believe it was 2 earnings calls ago, where he seen autonomy going with Joby, and he actually thought they'd be fully autonomous in 5 years, and I thought there was no way that's happening. But to see them actually pushing through the IPP now, fair play, it's with the Cessna, but it won't be long before it is with the S4. I just want to double check that was with the Cessna and it wasn't with an S4. I'll find it here somewhere. I love this comment. I've actually highlighted it. We need more retail investors in the sector. Yeah, it feels like we're having a little bit of a drop-off on retail investors, but of course, the whole speculative stocks are starting to be hit very, very badly. Even with the S&P climbing through all-time highs there yesterday. Look, we did get a bit of a rally, but is that what we're expecting? Randy says this is the best earnings so far. I honestly do believe it is too. This is the change. I'm surprised it's still red. I think 30% up tomorrow. Amazing news here. I'm actually going to change my anticipated move for Joby. So we are currently down 1.3%, or 1.03, or look, 0.27. So I am expecting a move green now. I do think going into opening bell tomorrow, we are going to start running up, and I think we're going to run up pretty aggressively. So I'm excited to see it. Guys, do you think we're going to be up or down? Do let me know. I actually don't have the poll in front of me, so jump into the comments, let me know. They have started stage 5. Yes, they are currently 20% through stage 5 on Joby's side and 10% through it on FAA's side. So many stocks with earnings today are down after hours, even with beats across the board. Look at SpaceX yesterday. I wouldn't worry. I always said that never panic on earnings. You've decided to invest in this stock. So don't let short-term noise affect you up or down after earnings. It's not going to matter. Like quite a few stocks get a sell-off just on earnings. It's Wall Street completely playing. Even on positive earnings, what Wall Street do, they sell off, cause retail to panic, pull the stock lower, and then they'll buy back in. And that's why you get that pullback and an extreme push up. So don't worry too much about it, my guy. The Electric Whisper says, also notice how fast Joby's losses are going down. Very strong financial news. I was very impressed to see the 50% year-over-year growth in revenue from Blade. I actually was quite confused about that whole acquisition of Blade at the time, and I'll hold my hands up. I was wrong. I thought why you're acquiring what I believed was more or less a fill-in helicopter business when you're going out to completely break the industry and dominate in its own way. But look, it seems to be going well for them. I still want to know the transition from helicopters into S4. At the moment, they're leasing them helicopters. I think there's about 24 of them. When are they going to convert to S4? And then how does the Blade experience then differ from the Joby experience? Because if Joby operate Blade and they also own them, and it's also with S4 aircraft, is it not just Joby, and will we just see a complete disassembly of Blade? I don't know. Do let me know if you think. Have we talked about Joby Aviation's partnership with... Joby Aviation has formed a landmark strategic partnership with Atoms, an industrial AI and infrastructure company founded by Uber co-founder Travis Kalanick. So we did speak through that partnership with Atoms. We're going to hear a little bit more on the call. Is Dylan here? There we go. Yeah, we are going to hear more on the call about that partnership with Atoms. Look, I was happy that they got to get it fresh in just prior to the earnings call. That push through on developing the hubs and the infrastructure is something Joby has an edge on. But then Joby does need the edge on it too, because Joby is actually going to operate in their own aircraft. If we look across the whole sector, if you're primarily going selling the aircraft, it's not really your responsibility to mass roll out these vertiports. But on Joby's side, it's fantastic news. Blade has an existing pickup at JFK. I assume it will be retired and replaced with S4. S4 are better than helicopters in every way, and I agree with you. I could see Blade completely discontinuing their whole helicopter operation. It will be completely filled with S4. But how quick do you do that? Yeah, because you have your existing business with Blade with the helicopters. Do you quickly throw it all in and S4 them? Or you could have more aircraft, because you could have Blade operating on one side and you can actually have S4 on the other side. So how long do you keep it? You wait till mass rollout before you completely disassemble?
You know, I almost wonder with this, Liam, like, let's just take like Lyft as an example, and let's pretend that they were developing their own vehicles. So they started with the turbine engine, and that's basically how they were starting their business. But then in the other side of it, they had their electric propulsion, and that was the vehicle that they were looking to roll out. So I think also to that comment too, it's, you know, I think getting a wider spread understanding of yeah, these might look different than a traditional helicopter, but the amount of redundancy and safety that's placed into these aircraft, it's exponentially more than what the traditional helicopter would be. So I think it's almost one of those things of like a phase in, phase out. So it's like if you have four S4, and maybe you'll have at that time, when you have your additional original passengers, those that are starting to request maybe that mode of transport as opposed to the traditional. And then again, maybe that's through a VIP offering through Blade or an upgraded service or something like that that would give you the S4, at first dibs, first claims or something like that. And then again, they'll kind of roll out and get those into operation. So it is kind of interesting to see where you do have that business model out there, and now it's figuring out how to basically replace the existing helicopters with the S4 and get those built out.
Guys, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button to be in a chance to win the free giveaway. You have to stay around to the end of the stream to be in a chance to win. So even if you're not going to watch it, at least just leave the stream on, That guy says, when is the call? The call is in 20 minutes. It is at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 10 p.m. GMT. So, yeah. Billy Goat Sholin says to focus on autonomy in the vertiports. Dylan, I was saying that while you were gone. So
yeah, go for it.
We heard Joe Ben speaking about, it was during the retail question about 2 quarters ago, about how he can see autonomy happening within the next 5 years. And I said at the time I was quite shocked. Are you surprised to see it? Them speak about it this quick? I believe it's with the Cessna. I didn't see it with the F4. However, did you expect to see it this quick with the Super Pilot?
I think inside the Joby community, you do hear a lot about the Super Pilot and the amount of miles that's been used on that aircraft, and with that technology growing. So I think again for me, it's the curiosity of the how and when that technology can be transformed over to an S4, or again, if we went down the defense route, if that's something that could be placed onto the S4T or something like that. So as they kind of do continue to roll out Super Pilot, I think I want to continue to see what they have, the additional range that they've been able to prove out, and really seeing, is that something that, again, that they're going to incorporate into the S4, or is this kind of a separate autonomous, longer range, commercial, more logistical, something like that has been packaged and bundled for this. So I think I just want to know how this whole ecosystem is coming together as they're testing kind of different mechanisms on different aircraft. I kind of want to see what that final S4 product's going to look like, both on the piloted side and then also on the autonomous side. And I think when we look at the other companies in the eVTOL sector, seeing that there's autonomous options that are coming out for those companies as well, I think for me, it more stamps what Jobin spoke of. So instead of giving the validity and credit to those that are talking about it now, I think it goes back to when I was so surprised about Jobin speaking of it 2 quarters ago and it coming so quickly, to actually seeing it mature, and also be, again, I'm really curious. I believe it's in Utah, to see how they're going to be bringing that to Utah and actually use those autonomous features under the EIPP and through the Electric Skies Tour. So I'm really curious when they get to that month of that Electric Skies Tour to see that.
Guys, I'm going to turn the ads on if we don't get 100 likes prior to the earnings call. This is completely ad-free. You haven't seen an ad in this stream. You can jump across to any of the other streams if you want. I know they all are running ads at the moment, and you will miss an awful lot of information. But there's 34 likes of 154 people.
I am curious, Liam. So with the chat, and sorry for the frozen face. So I'm gonna go back through the chat and see how everybody's doing, because my son is gonna come and give me a big hug. Hey, my guy. So it's just kind of, what do we feel like the community, do they feel like they've heard enough about the S4? Do they feel like there's unanswered questions? Do they feel like there's more unanswered? So do you guys feel that there's more unanswered question on the infrastructure side, on the UAE side. So it's kind of an inverse way of asking what you want to hear on this call, but maybe one of those of like, what are you most curious about? And like, you can see it happening, but really need to know like those stepping stones of how that's going to materialize. So again, it's not to heart, but it's to be honest, where I would love Jobin to come out on the prepared remark, and I would love him to address any payload or software that was addressed 2 quarters ago. Let's get him to come out there, speak about it right away. It was kind of dismissed last quarter, also through the Q&A. Also, I'd love to hear about the ramp and how they're looking to get to ramp basically to about 48 aircraft in 2027. But what are they looking to do? Because they were talking in the shareholder letter about doing some first delivery in 2026. So I'm curious, is that first delivery to Dubai? As we know that, again, UAE were the early backers in these eVTOL industry. And it's that kind of push and pull of, are we on these first rollouts offering them to the US soil for the EIPP to prove out that UAM can be possible, and maybe let's put the gas pedal on, funding these vertiports, getting these charging infrastructures put in prior to the UAE maybe going full board, where we've seen Sky Sports and additional infrastructure build out really already taking place over there. And I'll have to lower a little bit, but after the shareholder letter, I did go and throw the Joby shirt on. So just want to give a big shout out to Joby. They're very kind to send it over. So had to throw the shirt out and give Joby some love, because I did enjoy the shareholder letter and the information that was provided to me at this point. But I am very, very interested in the Q3 passenger service and them still labeling it passenger service. I just want to know how they're going to get there. I know that we've been seeing some test flights on the ADS-B tracker through the conforming S4. And again, that's something I think got to give total credit to Joby for. They're the ones, regardless of phase of testing that it means the compliance that other companies are going through, they are testing a conforming aircraft. They went pencils down, power on testing multiple quarters ago. So they felt with their aircraft at the time, they had what they needed to be able to get them to the point of the FAA pilots having their butts in the seats. Because we do know, and that's again, learning more about this industry, where it's not going to be the Joby pilots that will be certifying these aircraft. It's going to be the FAA pilots. But to like Liam was saying, and how he expands my mind and grows my thesis, and it's where, and it's not to me moving the goalpost. I still think 2028 can be an immaculate showcase for the eVTOL industry. Yeah, Archer Aviation is the exclusive air taxi provider of the Olympics, and I think that's lovely. And anybody that knows me from the channel is, I'm not going to like BS you. That I think that's awesome, awesome exposure for that company, but awesome exposure for the industry. But what has not been yet talked about is who can conduct passenger service in and around that LA and metro area during the summer 2028 Olympics. And I really think, again, that was what many have spoke about through Innovate 28 being a goalpost that's not being moved by the FAA. And if we have till roughly 2029 summer of for this EIPB completion, that that rolls over, administration changes, whether it's party or person, not even in the political sense, but just saying that does roll us over to that new side of administration. And that's with 2 years of proven out what we think to be proven out technology under the AIPP program, with these aircraft again only maturing. Again, I don't even think I've said anything financial, so I don't want to say not financial advice. I'm just talking about aircrafts. Like, I don't really think I've seen anything in these aircrafts immature, I guess is the word. So with additional time to allow the aircrafts to mature, like, again, I know we have different timelines, meaning just the community in general, air quotes, we have different timelines on either when we want the price goals and such to hit, or, again, whether we're swing trading, day trading, or long-term holding. But the longer that these companies are refining the aircrafts, not only do your accumulation times build, you find your consolidating zones. It's not a blow-off top industry, but also you're bringing the best product to market. Like, think if the rules and regulations were set in 2024. Think of how much Joby's done from 2024 to 2026 and how much they've advanced. And I just see it going further. So yeah, this is gonna be an exciting one. So chat, jump in. Let me know what you're feeling. Let me know if I'm crazy. Always call me out if I am.
Golden Billion says Joby number 1. Cedric ran the numbers on Archer, and at $4.15 per share, you'd be paying essentially for only the cash on hand and net assets, basically valuing the company itself at zero worth.
There you go.
Electric Whisper says Blade's not a joke, as existing heliports all over Manhattan. It was the best purchase Joby could have possibly made. I've already liked it. Everyone else being lazy, click the like button. Yeah, guys, click the like button. Man. We have 10 minutes to get to 100 likes. If not, I'm turning on the ads.
I appreciate the like, guys.
Geeks already at Edwards Air Force Base. That could be good for a military contract. What time does the earnings start? Starts in 9 minutes. Let me just update it just in case it's... There we go, 9 minutes. Higgles, they come in to DFW. Going to be a great call, honestly.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good call on that. Good call on that.
All right. What does Dylan mean about their unanswered questions about the S4? I disagree.
Oh, yeah. I go back one just in case. Let me see. I'm sorry.
Here we go.
Unanswered question. Just honestly, I just want to hear more about the S4. I want to hear more about the timeline, about the ability to ramp, if it's still going through in 2027, if they're able to carry the payload. There's just, I want to make sure that the aircraft that they're testing conforming right now, because I just want to be honest, that the aircraft that they're sending through the conforming test right now is the one that they're continuing to be comfortable with and to perform the operation. So I just want to keep hearing more about the S4.
Dax says, Billy says, instead of treating vertiports like a traditional static helipad, they're building automated features into new asset class of smart city mobility hubs. Payload update. Hopefully we will hear about payload updates in the call. Billy Goat says autonomous robotaxi depots and fleet integration, smart infrastructure management. High-density power and automated aircraft servicing, multimodal convergence hubs are physically and digitally architectured, and Joby is constantly building out their manufacturing capabilities. Dax said, midnight flew 4 times today and eVTOL. You are correct, dear Mike guy. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to stick away from Archer at this stage. Joby is on record saying they will participate in LA 2028 Olympics, and they recently bought a hangar space in Santa Monica. Realistically, Joby will participate in LA 28 and Archer will not, let's be honest. No, I disagree. I think Archer will be there. I do believe Joby will also be operating passenger flights around the city at that time. V. Passon says FAA clearly said no passenger travel till Joby gets approval. Then how are they claiming commercial passengers travel by September? No, they're not. They're not saying commercial passenger travel by September. They're saying first EIPP flights will start in September, and they're hoping for first passenger flights in 2026. That could be all the way in December. Are they indirectly saying Joby getting FAA approval in September? No.
Right.
Mate, jump back on the stream. Look, first EIPP flights expected in September. That is one thing. But they are targeting their first passenger flight in 2026.
And I think it would be interesting to hear, are we thinking US or UAE, as first passenger?
Yep. Then Christian said, like, big shout out my guy Eddie, Blade was profitable only after it offloaded everything but emergency medical deliveries and organ transplants to Joby. But can we dismiss vertiport infrastructure Joby gained by acquisition of Blade? And that's true, Eddie. EIPP is what Joby means by commercial service. Yeah. And as we said, guys, commercial service and passenger operations are two different things. Commercial service includes your cargo and includes your medi transport. It doesn't guarantee passenger operations, but they are targeting passenger operations. They said first unpaid passengers and then going to paid passengers. When Joby is ready to fly passengers, the next issue is finding someone we're riding up. Blade revenues are an absolute sham. Mate, I'm not ignoring you, my guy, but I'm trying to keep it positive on Joby's front, on Joby's earnings. Eddie says, I'd like to hear about S4 performance with specific numbers of people on board. Yeah, I would like to hear that too. When is Joby UAE service going to start? They did say it at the end of the year, by the end of the year, I do believe. They definitely did say about the UAE. I'll double check for you, my guy. Joby will be transporting body parts in the IPP. That's what I mean by commercial service. Liam is right. Thank you so much, my guy. The nerd just hopped on, guys.
Hey,
Why
what's
are
up?
there only 60 people watching? This is an important call, guys. People drop off. They'll end up coming back. It's probably because I said I was going to turn it to ads if they didn't smash the like button. But no, they'll
We're
hop back
glad
in.
you. We're glad. Yeah, but we're glad you're here, Lennar.
Also,
But no, it's a good call. No, I think this is one of those ones where really we're gonna learn even more and more about Joby than I think we
can you
thought
hear
we
that?
knew. I can.
You
And
can,
I'll make sure to mute once we get going. And let's see if
yeah,
anything else has come
I'll
out
keep an eye
here.
on when this starts. Saying starts in 3 minutes, guys. Final thoughts. Are we expecting? Oh yeah, well, look, we're already green, 0.51% green. So markets liking it after hours, but again, we can't depend on the market after hours.
And I don't know if you hit on it, Liam, but I think we got the EPS estimate was minus 0.23, came in at minus 0.25, so not too crazy. And like you said, I guess off initials, doesn't seem like algos are initially hating or flash crashing it. So it'll be interesting as we go through the call to see if Joe Biden's words start moving the market and getting this going too. So yeah, this will be fun. This will be fun.
Numbers are climbing up again as expected. Guys, smash that like
Good to
button
see
as you're
y'all.
jumping in. Really helps me out. James says, good to be back. Or good to be here again. Looking forward to the rest of the show. James, big shout out, my guy, one of our members here.
Good to see you,
Big
James.
appreciation. Eric says, been following us for a while. Thanks for putting this content out there. Big
Eric.
thank you, my guy. This wouldn't be here without you guys following. So, look, this is the anniversary. 2 years. It was Q2 2024. I started doing live streaming the earnings. I did do a few videos prior to that, but this 2 years is the anniversary of going live with the Hustle Brothers, and we're just growing. We're smashing it through. We're through the 5,000 now. We're through nearly 5,200. So yeah, we have 120 videos planned.
And just remember, this is the community that's here together to celebrate and enjoy this call. So I'm happy to be here with everyone.
Eric, how long have I been making YouTube videos? I've been making YouTube videos for 2.5 years. I got my channel banned yesterday, if no one knew. I got my channel banned. We had a coordinated, I don't know, something happened. What time is the call? The call is any second now.
That's right.
Is it?
With the blue Joby gear on, hang around for, I think we got a giveaway at the end. Definitely everybody get your thoughts. And again, I'm the note taker. So before Jobin starts talking, I got the Joby blue. I know it's not quite the exact one. It's actually, it's a decent Joby blue. But you're going to see me vigorously taking notes. And, we do our best to break down these calls. And, it's one, as an investor, as an enthusiast, and also being an analyst at the same time. So, we're going to listen really, really open-minded and hear what Joe Ben has to say. Rodrigo will probably hit us with some CFO comments, and Morgan Stanley will probably have one of the better questions, I'm going to say, for Joby to answer. I would really pay attention to the answer from the Morgan Stanley from the Morgan Stanley question. They're a heavy investor. I think one of the heavier I don't want to say institutional investors, but one of the heavier banks or funds that invest in the Joby. So it's always interesting to hear their call. Oh, and Savi, she'll be on the call. If you guys know, she's one of my favorite. Bill from JP Morgan, I think. Bill P, he always has a good one. And Amit Dial from HC Wainwright. I've actually really been enjoying the questions that he's been throwing out lately. At first, I was kind of like, is he overshooting this industry? Is he getting the bigger picture or even the smaller picture? But I've been really, I think he does some home run type questions and really nails in some of the things that us as the retail investor want to know. And I think H.C. Wainwright holds maybe around $11 price target or so on Joby at the moment. So yeah, and see what they have to say.
Lennart says, big question, why did you get banned? We had someone, I don't know if I can say the word, HACK.
It got messed up.
Yeah, the account. I have the location on where it happened, but YouTube were quite good. They said 72 hours and we got
really
back.
Really kind. So super
I thought we
happy to be here with y'all. Yeah, super happy to be here with y'all.
How long have I been making YouTube videos? 2.5 years. Can't believe that. Well, congrats. Thanks for the efforts. What time's call? Call's any second now.
What's up, Busy?
And hi guys, what a quarter on Wall Street, as they haven't a clue how big it's going to be. And that is incredible words. I love to see it. This is a massive earning call. I'm hoping we get definitive update on FAA certification. They're pushing through stage 5 now. So yeah. Who got banned? I got banned. I got my channel removed last night. It's been reinstated now. If you go across to X, you'll see everything that happened live. I was streaming SpaceX's earnings and it happened.
Head of Investor Relations.
Here we go.
Thank you. You may begin.
There we go. Have a great call, guys.
Thank you. Good afternoon and evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Joby Aviation's second quarter 2026 financial results conference call. My name is Teresa Thurthale, and I'm Joby's Head of Investor Relations. We will begin today with prepared comments from JoBen Bevirt, Founder and Chief Executive Officer, and Rodrigo Brumana, Chief Financial Officer. For the Q&A portion of today's call, we will also be joined by our Executive Chairman, Paul Sciarra. Please note that our discussion today will include statements regarding future events and financial performance, as well as statements of belief, expectation, and intent. These forward-looking statements are based on management's current expectations and involve risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially from those expressed or implied. For a more detailed discussion of these risks and uncertainties, please refer to our filings with the SEC and the safe harbor disclaimer contained in today's shareholder letter. The forward-looking statements included in this call are made only as of the date of this call, and the company does not assume any obligation to update or revise them. Also, during the call, we'll refer both to GAAP and non-GAAP financial measures. A reconciliation of non-GAAP to GAAP measures is included in our Q2 2026 shareholder letter, which you can find on our investor relations website, along with a replay of this call. With all of that said, I'll turn the call over to JoBen.
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's an incredibly exciting time to be part of our industry. After many years of hard work, designing, building, testing, and flying our aircraft across thousands of flights and tens of thousands of miles, we're now at the point where we're preparing for commercial service. I'm pleased to confirm that next month, we intend to complete our first eIPP flights in Texas. The White House-backed eIPP program has the potential to significantly accelerate our path to commercial service, and we're grateful to the FAA for their continued partnership as we look ahead to these flights. The flights in Texas will be the first of many that bring Joby together with state and local bodies, as well as the FAA, to prove out the value and operational maturity of our technology. Over the course of a week, we'll be flying routes across the Dallas-Fort Worth area that lay the groundwork for future commercial operations. These vertical takeoff and landing flights will demonstrate how our aircraft can transform travel across a major metropolitan area. Over time, and with extensive involvement and oversight from the FAA, we expect flights under the eIPP program to progress from those with only a pilot on board to those carrying non-paying passengers and eventually paying passengers. And in preparation for those flights, I'm pleased to confirm that we continue to target carrying our first passengers this year. As we look ahead to commercializing our service, I've never been more excited about the potential for vertical lift. We see that potential demonstrated every day through our Blade business as customers choose to pay for journeys that give them meaningful time back. We acquired Blade just about a year ago with strong conviction in their team, their product, and the opportunity presented by the network they've developed across the US and the south of France. Over the past year, that conviction has only strengthened. The business continues to grow quarter on quarter, so much so that the core constraint we're facing on many routes is now aircraft availability rather than passenger demand. The number of seats sold in Q2 was up over 50% from the same time last year, marking Blade's best performing Q2 on record in that respect. This quarter also saw the highest number of new flyers going to and from New York City airports since 2023, while route expansions contributed to more than 40% year-on-year growth in Hampton's revenue. We also saw positive impact from a number of key events around the world, including the World Cup and the US Open here in the US, as well as the Monaco Grand Prix, where we sold roughly 4,500 seats to or from the race. The last quarter was so strong, in fact, that today I'm pleased to confirm that we are raising our full year revenue guidance after Blade's revenue grew 32% year on year in the first half. Looking ahead, we're drawing on Joby's existing relationship with Uber to drive increased demand. This is in addition to a new partnership between Blade and Visa, signed during the quarter, which gives Visa Infinite consumer and business cardholders access to a premium suite of benefits on Blade's signature airport service in New York. Vertical takeoff and landing has been our North Star at Joby since day one, and our experience integrating Blade over the past year has only reinforced how central it is to the customer experience. Flying between airports is something aviation has done successfully for a long time. The real opportunity comes from taking customers from where they begin their journeys to where they want to go, saving them the time and friction of traveling through an airport. Blade's experience with the New York to Hampton service brings this point to life. Customers can book a conventional fixed-wing aircraft from Teterboro to Montauk today for roughly 1/3 of the price of a helicopter flight from Manhattan. And yet utilization of the helicopter service remains significantly higher. That tells us just how much customers value the time savings and convenience of beginning their journey in the city and avoiding the airport altogether. Being able to take off vertically is a fundamental part of what drives Blade's success today. And we believe the opportunity becomes even greater with the introduction of the Joby aircraft, which is quieter, less expensive to operate, and designed specifically for journeys like these. In July, I had the opportunity to experience this convenience for myself, flying to and from the Farnborough Air Show. Despite being one of the world's largest air shows, everyone still arrives by road or rail on journeys that can take up to 2 hours. We ran our Blade service there for the first time, connecting central London to Farnborough Airport in just 18 minutes, selling out seats on several days and underscoring the value of vertical lift in the UK market. While we were at Farnborough, we signed a multi-year definitive agreement with Virgin Atlantic that builds on that opportunity and sets out a path for us to launch service across the UK with a particular focus on London and Manchester. We also held more than 150 meetings with regulators and stakeholders from markets around the globe, including a veritable alphabet soup of regulators that included the DFT and the CAA from the UK, EASA from Europe, GACA and the GCAA from the Middle East, the US DOT and the FAA, as well as ANAC from Brazil, to name just a few. And there was one common thread amongst all these meetings. They are just as excited about vertical lift as we are and are watching Joby's progress closely. They're seeing the positive ripple effects of the eIPP program, and they're asking how they can unlock the same level of momentum we're seeing in markets like the US and the UAE. As well as seeing great support on the regulatory side in those markets, we're also making incredible progress with infrastructure. Earlier this week, we announced a strategic partnership with Atoms, the industrial AI infrastructure company founded by Travis Kalanick. Travis co-founded Uber in 2009, the same year that I founded Joby. And since our first jam session in 2015, the one that seeded Uber Elevate, he's been all in on electric flight. He's one of the most dynamic founders of his generation, with a rare ability to see the whole system and turn ambitious ideas into real industries. Together, we're working on doing just that again, with a joint understanding that the next revolution in transportation requires not only new vehicles, but also new infrastructure. Our shared vision goes beyond air taxis. With the rollout of autonomous vehicles gaining significant momentum, we see an opportunity to create a new class of mobility hub, designed from the outset to support both technologies. These hubs will combine takeoff and landing and charging for electric aircraft with charging and depot services for autonomous vehicles, sharing fixed costs, creating stronger operating economics, delivering seamless journeys for our customers, and even greater value for the communities in which we'll operate. The Atoms team is world-class, with deep expertise across acquisition, financing, development, electrification, and permitting. And after 8 years of working in stealth, recently raised $1.7 billion with lead investment from A16Z to support their growth. Our own aviation experts will now work alongside the Atoms team to identify and develop the best sites for our network. We'll be focusing initially on Florida, New York, and Texas, the same markets where we're preparing to launch early operations under the eIPP program, as well as here in California. In addition to our own progress on infrastructure, we continue to see accelerating momentum and investment by states and airports here in the US, infrastructure partners across the industry, and countries around the world. Florida enacted legislation allowing the state to fund certain vertiport projects at up to 100%, committing millions of dollars to activate new sites all over the state. We're excited that Orlando is already moving forward with developing a vertiport in the central terminal area of one of the country's busiest commercial airports. In Dubai, at the marina, the second of 4 vertiports being built by our partners is nearly complete, and we continue to see meaningful progress on infrastructure in markets like Japan, the wider UAE, Korea, and Australia. To make the most of this momentum, we still have to deliver our part, the aircraft and the service, and I'm pleased to report excellent progress there too. We now have 5 of our electric air taxis in the air, including our first FAA-conforming aircraft. And we have 12 more aircraft in various stages of the production process, including 2 set for delivery this year. As we've said before, manufacturing is hard. Anyone who has tried to do it at scale will tell you that. And building conforming aircraft represents a step change in complexity. We are putting in the hard miles now so that we're ready to make the most of all of the opportunities I've just described. Over the last quarter, we've worked tirelessly to remove bottlenecks and improve processes. And during the first 6 months of this year, as just one example, we reduced the non-conformance rate in our manufacturing processes by nearly 40%. This represents excellent progress as we move from R&D builds to low-rate production. During the quarter, we also took a significant step forward in our relationship with Toyota, forming a joint venture that lays the groundwork for high-volume commercial production, helping to significantly reduce the risk of one of the greatest challenges ahead of us. We're incredibly grateful to have had Toyota, the world's largest automaker, at our side for more than 7 years, leaning into that challenge and working with us to bring the best of automotive manufacturing to aviation. We'll share more about our plans for the strategic alliance in due course, but I'm pleased to say that a senior Toyota manufacturing leader is set to join our Marina team shortly as we continue to work ever more closely together. By investing together in the people, facilities, and systems required for production, we will create a more capital-efficient path to scale and a manufacturing system designed from the outset to deliver exceptional quality and consistency at volume. I'd like to end where I started, with the eIPP program. As I've said, the program promises to be an important opportunity to accelerate commercialization, and a critical part of that will be the safe and effective integration of our aircraft into the national airspace. In April, we announced a partnership with ASI focused on this work, and I'd like to congratulate ASI on being recently selected by the FAA to provide the central software infrastructure for managing traffic across the US national airspace system. ASI is effectively building an operating system for airspace, the invisible infrastructure that will allow us to scale access to our skies. It's an honor to be partnered with them, and we look forward to collaborating on airspace integration as part of our eIPP work. It's incredibly exciting to see all of these pieces coming together, and I hope everything we've shared today gives you a real sense of just how close we are and how ready we are for commercialization. We're building the infrastructure, we're building the aircraft, we're building the customer base, and we're building our operational experience. And on top of it all, we just had our strongest quarter yet in terms of progress on the 5th and final stage of type certification. Taken together, everything I've described today is how we will unlock the third dimension of mobility and turn electric vertical flight from an extraordinary technology into an everyday reality, giving people their time back and fundamentally changing the way we move. And with that, I'll hand it over to Rodrigo.
Thank you, JoeBen, and good evening, everyone. As JoeBen said in the beginning of the call, the revenue raise is a big part of today's story, and Blade is a big part of the reason. The way Blade delivered is exactly what's giving us the confidence to increase guidance. On a more personal note, it was great to see many of you at Farnborough last month. What struck me there was the energy in the room wasn't just talk. It was a response to real execution, progress on certification, on manufacturing, and on building the commercial foundation for the eIPP. What I would like to do now is put numbers to that progress and walk you through how we're deploying capital against it with the usual discipline. Let me start with the second quarter financial results. We ended the second quarter with approximately $2.3 billion in cash equivalents, and short-term investments. Our Q2 use of cash equivalents, and short-term investments totaled approximately $202 million compared to $195 million in the first quarter, which included the net cash impact of our Ohio facility purchase. Excluding that one-time Ohio investment, our first half 2026 use of cash was $365 million, which is within our guidance range of $340 to $370 million. Additional detail is available in our Q2 shareholder letter. Total property and equipment investment in the quarter was approximately $29 million, compared to $78 million last quarter. With the Ohio purchase behind us, CapEx declined sequentially, though it remains elevated versus prior years as we build out manufacturing capacity. Revenue for Q2 was $39 million, primarily from Blade passenger business, and up $14 million from the prior quarter. Blade delivered a standout quarter, supported by the seasonal summer ramp, favorable weather, and elevated demand around major events. We are pleased with that momentum. It exceeded our expectations, and it's reflected in the raised guidance we'll walk you through shortly. Total operating expenses for Q2 were $300 million compared to $258 million in Q1. The $42 million increase was primarily driven by $23 million of continued investment to support certification, manufacturing ramp, and commercial readiness, $11 million in costs related to increasing revenue, and $8 million in other expenses. On a GAAP basis, we reported a Q2 net loss of $245 million compared to $110 million in the prior quarter. Most of that increase was related to a $108 million non-cash unfavorable change in the fair value of warrants and earn-out shares. The rest was a $27 million increase in loss from operations. Keep in mind that fair value revaluation is driven primarily by changes in our share price and can introduce meaningful non-cash volatility from quarter to quarter. Adjusted EBITDA, a non-GAAP metric that we reconcile to net income in our shareholder letter, was a loss of $197 million in Q2 compared to a loss of $179 million in Q1. The $19 million change quarter-over-quarter reflects the revenue and expense dynamics I just described. Stepping back for a moment, the mix of our spending is shifting to preparation for commercial operations as well as aircraft production. In the first half, capital expenditures were $107 million, including $62 million for Ohio and $15 million for Hollister, where we have invested in expanded flight test capabilities. We expect capital spending to run below the first half pace in the back half, though still elevated relative to prior years as we keep investing in manufacturing and commercial infrastructure. And we will continue to size that spend to respective milestones. As we advance our US go-to-market through eIPP, we are investing in the foundation required to carry passengers, Part 135 operations, maintenance and training, and the systems that turn an aircraft into a running service. It is an exciting time. We see the eIPP as complementary to certification, a parallel path to build, improve the commercial side of the business, while certification continues on its own track. We are spending as we hit milestones, not before. On manufacturing, our joint venture with Toyota lets our teams work side by side to scale production. It also let us share the investment required to build that capability, leveraging Toyota's decades of production expertise. As we finalize the remaining supply agreements, we continue to expect Toyota's $250 million directly investment in Joby to close later this year or early next. Now, onto our guidance. Our approach to capital remains disciplined and milestone-driven. As we move through the back half of the year, we are managing spend to optimize for certification progress, production ramp, and increasingly, commercial readiness through the eIPP. For the second half of 2026, we expect to use $385 to $415 million in cash, primarily to support certification, manufacturing, eIPP, and commercialization. The step up from the first half reflects deliberate investment in commercial readiness as we scale into operations. And as always, we can stage a portion of that spend to match our progress, keeping our usual capital discipline. On revenue, given Blade's continued strength and healthy demand for air mobility, we are raising our full-year guidance to a range of $115 to $125 million from a prior 105 to 115 million range, with 63 million in revenue already recognized in the first half, and Blade typically peaking in the third quarter. We feel good about delivering on this increased range. Thank you for your continued support, and operator, please open the call for questions.
Thank you. We will now be conducting a question and answer session. If you'd like to ask a question, please press star one on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate a line is in the question queue. You may press star two to remove yourself from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up the handset before pressing the star keys. One moment, please, while we pull for questions. Our first question comes from the line of Andres Sheppard with Cantor Fitzgerald. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. Congratulations on the quarter and all the great progress. And it was great to see everyone at the Farnborough Air Show a few weeks ago. First question I guess I have is just coming back to the EIPP. So again, a lot of great progress here and initial flights in September and first passengers in 2026. Very exciting. I guess my question here, maybe for you, JoeBen, is how are you thinking about utilizing your current fleet across these projects and including maybe your aircrafts in production? Like, how do you expect, I guess, to deploy these across the different projects? And then maybe secondly, and I realize this might be a bit early, but do we have a sense of revenue generating opportunities that may come from the EIPP? Thank you.
Thank you, Andres. It was wonderful to see you in Farnborough. I'll take the first part of that and then pass it to Rodrigo. The EIPP is really a spectacular opportunity that's been provided to us, and we're really excited about it. Really excited about beginning that in Texas with our existing fleet and expanding that over the months to come and out into 2027 as we bring more and more aircraft online. As I mentioned in my prepared remarks, we have our first conforming aircraft flying, and we have 12 more that are in production. That's an increase of 4 additional aircraft this quarter into our production queue. And the reason we're leaning so hard into manufacturing is the incredible opportunity that we see in front of us, both with the EIPP and, as Rodrigo spoke about, with the incredible performance of the Blade division. With that, I'll hand it to Rodrigo.
Yes, thanks, JoeBen, and good to see you, Andres, that in Farnborough. Look, it's premature to provide further guidance on the numbers today, but the reason we're so excited about this program is because it's giving us the opportunity to monetize every single aircraft that comes off our production for the foreseeable future. So think about the EIPP markets alone. So we're talking about Texas, Florida, New York. That alone could absorb the whole production for quite some time. And let's not forget about California, our backyard here. So number one, we want to maximize that opportunity, and that's why we're so focused on production growth. And we started that not yesterday. We started much earlier than that. And don't forget, we intended to start passenger operations in Dubai as well. That will be on top. And I think Blade is showing us that vertical lift, what it can do. We saw a record quarter, and you were actually to experience that benefit while you're there in the UK.
Wonderful. Thank you both. That's very helpful. Really appreciate that color. Maybe just as a quick follow-up, JoeBen, maybe a bit of an unconventional question, but at the Farnborough Air Show, you highlighted hydrogen as an exciting kind of new propulsion system. And so I guess my question there is, maybe can you elaborate on that? How material is that to the story? I know it's maybe not talked about enough, but that was a bit differentiated. So just curious on how you're thinking about that and maybe some potential opportunities there that you're considering. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andres. So hydrogen has been something we began pulling the thread on back 6+ years ago. Just to set the context, hydrogen has 3 times the specific energy of jet fuel. And with our fuel cell systems, we can convert that chemical energy into propulsion about twice as efficiently as a small turbine converts jet fuel into propulsion. And as a result, you can do really game-changing things with aircraft design. If you think about this in the context of a long-haul aircraft, take an A320 versus an A350. So the A350 flies twice as far with twice as many passengers. It weighs 4 times as much. It takes off with more weight in jet fuel than weight in passengers. And that aircraft also costs 4 times as much. So it costs twice as much per passenger, weighs twice as much per passenger. And that's all down to the fuel being very, very heavy. And so if you have a lighter weight fuel, you can do really game-changing things with aircraft design. We think this is the biggest disruption in aviation since the invention of the turbine engine back in the 1930s. And we think that by being one of the world leaders, if not the world leader, we're going to see really significant upside over the years to come.
Excellent. Very well said. Thank you so much. Congrats again on the quarter, everybody. We'll pass it on.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Savi Syth with Raymond James. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Just on Blade, perhaps, I was kind of curious what you're seeing given the kind of the fuel increase here and Blade still relying on fuel, just what you're seeing in terms of kind of pass through and kind of the ability for demand to kind of absorb that, and any high level thoughts on, margins this year versus maybe the potential there as kind of fuel might pull back.
So, Savi, I think your question, and this is Rodrigo here, about the demand. Look, number one, if I look at Blade itself, the acquisition has been a home run. You saw that in the quarters here. We just had the highest number of seats sold in Q2 in our history. And most importantly, the highest numbers of new flights from NYC in New York since 2023. What that's telling you is the demand for vertical lift is very high. So Blade has been a home run acquisition for us. We are lapping the first year pretty soon, and they have reaccelerated their growth. That's coming from the focus from the management in the high demand that we have for the service. And it's being a very valuable infrastructure that we acquire. So if you think about what we did here, we acquired a already built infrastructure, a loyal and growing customer base that loves the benefits from vertical lift in a decade of know-how. So we put this all together. This is a very growing demand for us. Look, now in terms of I guess your question is more like for the operating costs, I would say flight margin has improved, and you're not seeing a direct impact that will be flowing through the bottom line. Right now, we are running a business that is not consuming cash, and in fact, is contributing on the growth. And also, I think the team is doing a pretty good job in terms of selling the capacity that is available to the demand that's quite high.
That's helpful. I appreciate that. And maybe if I could briefly follow up on Andre's question on the EIPP side, just on the aircraft that you plan to use, is that the certification conforming aircraft that you plan to use in those flight tests, and or are you able to kind of use some of the kind of prior generation aircraft as well as you kind of progress through that flying?
Thank you so much, Savi. We're going to use a mix of different aircraft, both aircraft from our existing fleet as well as producing as many aircraft as we possibly can off of our company conforming production line.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And as a reminder, if anyone has any questions, you may press *1 on your telephone keypad to join the question and answer queue. Our next question comes from the line of James Kirby with JP Morgan. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks a lot for the time. I just wanted to ask on the scale and ramp, Job, and I appreciate the color you answered in the previous question on the 4 incremental in development aircraft quarter-over-quarter. Is that a right cadence to think of for the back half of the year? I think you mentioned 2 are expected to be delivered later this year. So is the right way to think about that is that you expect to end the year with 7 aircraft flying?
Yeah, thank you so much. We are, as I mentioned, ramping our manufacturing as aggressively as we can. We've been making really phenomenal progress on the non-conformance rate, which translates directly into improvements in efficiency and improvements in output. And so we are going to continue to add new aircraft into the front end of the build queue because there is a lag between when we start a build and when the aircraft comes out the back end. As I mentioned, we're targeting at least 2 aircraft to come off the line over the back half of the year and hoping to over-deliver.
Got it. That's really helpful. And then for my second question, just in light of recent industry announcements on the defense side, maybe just wanted to give you a chance to really just clarify. And I know you've been asked on almost every call on the end markets for defense, but maybe just where the defense fits into the Joby ecosystem, and particularly where you prioritize it with the eIPP obviously ramping in the coming months.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the question. This is Paul. Obviously, there's been a lot of conversation across the industry around hybrid VTOL for defense. And we have been working on this category for going on 2 years. And not just working on it, but actually demonstrating improved range, improved capability in conjunction with moving to a hybrid platform on real aircraft that are flying. And we think that puts us in a really strong position to take advantage of the opportunities that we see before us across multiple different customers across the DoW. Now, look, the mission types for vertical lift vehicles for those customer sets are really wide. There are areas in strike, areas in ISR, areas in infill and exfil, particularly for passenger carrying versions, that I think are all super exciting for the core capabilities that we're demonstrating. And I think one of the things that you're seeing more broadly in defense is that it used to be that specs sort of delivered on capabilities, but actually the reverse is largely true now, or at least there's an interplay between the two. And it's demonstrating capabilities that allow you to shape the specifications that the customer wants. So that's why we've been doing the work and why we think we're going to be well positioned to take full opportunity of all of those defense customer use cases.
Got it. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Amit Dayal with H.C. Wainwright. Please proceed with your question.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking my questions. With respect to the eIPP program that's about to start for you guys, are there any aspects of running the eIPP program that could give you certification credits, or should we think of these as separate efforts with no overlap?
Yeah, thank you so much. We do see the potential for there being the potential to accelerate our overall certification program on the back of a lot of the flight testing and experience that we gain through the eIPP program. We're just as a recap, we're working very closely with the FAA as well as local municipalities as we conduct our flights and operations under the eIPP program. And that close coordination, we think, has the potential to pay dividends.
Thank you. And then my follow-up, I guess, is around the Atoms partnership. Should we assume, this partnership implies that you could be shouldering some of the CapEx that goes into developing the vertiports? Just wanted to see if this potentially adds some additional burden on your balance sheet, or if that is not a correct assumption.
Thanks for the question. So it is a co-investment vehicle, and both parties are going to contribute capital. But most importantly, when it comes to the way in which it's structured, is that Adams has built up a number of financing relationships over a long period of time, given their work in real estate development and operation for many, many years now. So we get to be the beneficiary of a lot of the relationships and the credibility that they've already sort of built out. JB already mentioned sort of in the outset how we're going to sort of lean on the Adams team for site identification, procurement, and in turn sort of build out in operations. And that in turn means that we have a smaller share of the lift for all of the sites that we develop. But I think the most important thing really is the opportunity to kind of help to define a brand new asset class. With two important new modes of transportation entering US cities over this year and the coming years, that is autonomous vehicles on the ground and eVTOL aircraft in the air, we're going to need this sort of new infrastructure. And I think if we can go out and demonstrate its viability in conjunction with the smart folks over at Adams, we really can define this new asset class that us and others can continue to develop in more markets and at greater scale over time.
Understood. Thank you for that. Just can I maybe ask one question on the two aircrafts that you are planning to deliver this year? Who are those going to, if you can share any color on that?
So as I mentioned at the outset, we have far more demand for aircraft than we have the production, or we're able to produce at the moment, and so we're ramping production. We have not specifically decided the destinations for those two aircraft. Dubai and the UAE remain very high on our priority list, and but we will make strategic decisions as those aircraft come off the line.
Thank you, guys. That's all I have. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Austin Moeller with Canaccord Genuity. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, good afternoon, Joe, Ben, Rodrigo, and Paul. So of the conforming aircraft that are currently in the assembly phase, do we have any timetable on when some of those are going to come off the line? I know one of them is already in ground testing, but when those would come off the line and start conducting flight tests, because our thinking should be that it's 12 months from when TIA flight testing starts to cert, correct?
Thanks, Austin. So just to kind of recap it for folks, we have the first step is doing the work on stage 5, and as we reported, this is the final stage of certification. We reported record progress on stage 5 this quarter, so really thrilled with the work the team's doing there. That is about running the component level testing, the system level testing, and writing those test reports. Making great progress on that. The second piece is preparing the flight test plans that first Joby pilots will get in and fly on those aircraft. And then it is about the third leg of the stool is we need to expand the flight envelope on that first conforming aircraft. We've done that work already on our prior series of aircraft, which are, for all intents, very similar to our FAA conforming aircraft. And so we're, in a sense, repeating those exercises. The other element that we're now working on in parallel is this work on the EIPP. And we see that as an incredible opportunity, but also an additional burden on the team. And so we think that it has the potential, in the short term, it's additional effort, but as I said earlier, it has the potential to accelerate our overall certification program. But the short term may be some extra load.
Okay. And can you comment on the incremental $250 million equity investment that's expected from Toyota? Does that go to you now, or would that go within the JV?
Hey, Austin, Rodrigo here, and I look forward to seeing you in the conference next week. Short answer is it's coming, and it's going to go direct to Joby Inc. Should expect that by the end of the year or early next year.
Awesome. I'll pass it back there. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Chris Pierce with Needham & Company. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, everyone. I just want to, can you help me sort of level set what to expect in September and through the rest of the year in Texas? Like, should this look like the Electric Skies event? Should this look like one flight, or could this be, you know, not high frequency, but, you know, an aircraft there flying on a semi-regular basis? And are these passengers, you know, kind of one-off type passengers, or are they able to book through the Joby app or the Uber app? Like, I just want to kind of know what we should be looking for at the start and how it progresses.
Yeah, thank you. Just as a recap, this is staged, so it will begin with Joby pilots on board, and then progress to passengers, and then further on down the road, paying passengers. And so that's the progression you should expect. With the flights, specifically the flights in Texas, we're planning that over a course of a week, and we plan to do a number of flights that allow us to really get comfortable operating in the Dallas-Fort Worth airspace. We see this as a tremendous opportunity, and Texas is a really, really exciting market for us and for the industry as a whole.
Okay, perfect. That makes sense. Thanks for that. So we shouldn't expect, that's fine. I get it. Okay, perfect. And then all the talk about ramping production, I guess, how should we think about, you know, when you might turn Ohio on, when investors might be able to, you know, have boots on the ground and sort of really see the higher tempo production as you move beyond sort of the top, the cadence you laid out in 2027, the cadence you've laid out towards into the end of this year?
Yeah, thank you. So the ramp in Ohio for the components we're manufacturing there has already gotten going, and the team is doing a spectacular job of producing conforming components out of that facility. And we are also ramping at our facilities in San Carlos and in Marina. We expect to continue to ramp each of those facilities in parallel as we increase our manufacturing volume over the quarters to come. So if you're interested in seeing our manufacturing operations, we would love to have you. We think we're doing a really remarkable job, and it's really fun to come see.
Okay, and then just flipping back to Austin, to Andres' question, I believe you talked about, sorry if this came up on the call, but Dubai, you're still anticipating passenger flight there this year, or that's sort of because of the conflict, that's sort of not lower priority, but just that's a lower likelihood event, or has anything changed in that regard?
So our partners there are as leaned in as ever. This is the RTA and the GCA, as well as our infrastructure partners. The first vertiport is done. The second one is close to completion. The third is progressing well. And that is really significant because the degree to which the government there is leaned in on making this new mode of transportation a reality. I was over there about a month ago, and it is, we think that Dubai, the UAE, and the region as a whole is a really remarkable and exciting opportunity, and we can't wait to get back to flying there. As a reminder, we have an aircraft over there, and we're really, we can't wait to get going.
Okay, perfect. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Kristine Liwag with Morgan Stanley. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, good morning, everyone, or I guess good afternoon. By the way, it was great to fly Blade at Farnborough last month. Our roughly 15-hour flight certainly beat, 15-minute flight, excuse me, beat the 2-hour drive back to central London. So I guess, pivoting to Blade then, can you provide an update in terms of how you're viewing that business strategically? Specifically, how much of Blade's current operations are focused on retaining and servicing the existing customer base versus potentially expanding that customer base ahead of the Joby eVTOL aircraft certification? And how do you think about balancing that near-term operating discipline versus accelerating Blade as a demand generation platform?
Thanks a lot, Christine. This is Paul. So, as you saw from the numbers and as you saw from the guide, we're feeling really good about the existing Blade footprint and really the demand signal that we're getting from those core markets. The principal issue that we've had in terms of scaling it beyond that existing demand is aircraft availability, which is obviously something that we hope to solve with a better, quieter aircraft in relatively short order. Blade has had tons of opportunity to sort of potentially expand its overall footprint, and we're evaluating those on a pretty regular basis. Obviously, some of that work is happening in the eIPB markets that will be Joby launch sites as well, but we're kind of taking each of them in turn and evaluating the core merits about whether or not it makes sense to do or not. But as I said, in terms of the core of the business, we couldn't be more pleased with both the signal that we were getting directly from customers, the operational experience that Rob and the broader team sort of bring, given their work on this for years and years, and finally, the insight on the kinds of journeys, not just airport to airport, but airport to non-airport, that really make this whole thing work.
Great, super helpful. Thank you, Paul.
Terrific, thank you. And thank you to all the analysts who asked questions today. Earlier this week, we invited members of our community to submit questions as well. And I think we have time for at least one of those now. The first question actually is about modernizing ATC. The question is, will Joby have any involvement with ASI's FAA contract to modernize the air traffic control system? Paul?
Yeah, so we started our partnership with ASI earlier this year, and we were very excited that they were selected by the FAA for one important component of the broader ATC modernization, the sort of SMART program. We will be working with ASI in short order to essentially trial their tools in the existing airspace, both with Blade operations and with Joby eVTOL operations. We see it as a very important sandbox with a small number of aircraft and a limited geography to essentially prove out the additional performance that we can wring in terms of flight frequency from sort of key locations. And that's really the role that we're going to play in conjunction with ASI on that effort. But look, more broadly, when you think about the ATC modernization, and there are other pieces of that that are coming, including CAPS, ground infrastructure, all of it is really in service, I think, of allowing us to increase the frequency of both existing and future operations beyond what is possible in existing ATC. So it has very real benefit, revenue benefit, and profitability benefit for Joby over time. And then even more importantly, it's really the stepping stone for fully autonomous commercial operation, which we're progressing well with our Superpilot autonomy stack that we acquired via the X-Wing acquisition. So the ATC modernization is an opportunity to both increase the revenue opportunity of current and future piloted operations, and then over time, really expand the scope and scale of autonomous operations, which are both super exciting for the long-term business.
Great, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We greatly appreciate your support. We'll talk to you soon.
I want to jump in there pretty quickly and address that last question that Rito said. So will Joby have any involvement with the ASI to modernize? we had a lot of people expecting that they would gain revenue from the actual partnership with ASI to modernize. No, it's a second-hand advantage that they're getting there. It's in the long term they will gain revenue and profitability over time. It's a stepping stone for that autonomous flight. It's not direct monetary gain from the actual contract award of that ASI.
Correct.
Dylan.
Yes, sir.
How are we feeling? How are we feeling?
All right. You know, we're always going to keep it honest. And as always, I'm going to go back through the call. I'm going to listen to it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. But I got 5 pages of notes that I took. So I'm going to hit page 1 and I'm going to start doing some starred highlights. Actually, before that, how am I feeling? I'm feeling like I hear a lot of Joby and Blade interconnected. So I'm a little bit interested. So again, you know, I know we have Blade operations. When they talked about the revenue going up, it did strike me maybe some operations, be it the World Cup was operating so much in New York, may have had a higher level of Blade operations. So with that additional revenue going up, so because I think again they even spoke to, you know, is Blade looking to go in growth mode? It was one of the last questions. Is Blade looking to go in growth mode or basically go with the customer base that they have at the moment? I'm also very curious with the Sky Sports build out and the infrastructure build out that's been going on. You know, that's been a great highlight to see as that has been progressing. What I don't want to see is empty vertiports. So it looks like we're getting, per guidance, 2 additional conforming, and feel free to correct me if I misunderstood this, Liam. 2 additional conforming aircrafts coming out the back end of the production facility. But what I did catch in there, and we'll go over it a bit more and jump in chat, and I would definitely want to know how you guys are feeling. Stock prices hanging in there well for what it was today. And also where, yeah, it was with the, the front end and back end build of the aircraft. It was basically saying that they can ramp the front end build. They can basically get those first components. I'll go back to my notes and kick it to Liam here shortly.
And then there's a lag, yeah.
And the lag, I put in parentheses that there's a lag on getting those out the back end. So right now I have to look at 2 moving forward. And still, again, I think what I'm hearing is there's that push and pull between, are we delivering to Dubai as initial MOUs were probably set to be, or are we leaning into this EIPP opportunity where if I go to Dubai, maybe I'll be getting some revenue off of those flights if it can mature to that level versus I'm staying at home base doing what I need to do to kind of prove out to the administration, to the whole eVTOL, these consortiums that are being had. So again, go over some more, but before I give you not enough time to let the raw thoughts play out, Liam, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Yeah, like I think it was a bit of a mixed bag once we got to the question and answer session. I think the actual call was, that's the most confident I've seen Joe Ben prior to a question and answers by far. A lot of you guys in the chat, I could tell the Joby Bulls versus the Joby Bears in the chat. Some of you loved it, some of you hated it. I want you to jump into the comments, let us know what was your favorite part, what was your least favorite part of the call. I want to go through some of the questions here. Some massive positive news is the Toyota financing will be coming directly to Joby Inc. by the end of the year.
Good call.
That is massive. The ramping production in Ohio, it was a little bit shady on like we're ramping currently, and then St. Carlos and Marina are being ramped up as the quarters increase and as we ramp up. And it was like,
remind me, and remind me on that. Yeah, no, keep going. Raw thoughts, keep going.
But he answered the ramp up question by saying we will ramp up as we ramp up, and it was kind of like you answered the question with like, I don't know, a riddle. Fuel increase for the year, and the demand to absorb this by Blade, and the answer that Blade itself has been a home run and the highest number of seats sold in Q2 in history. The high demand and service is great. And the infrastructure that was acquired was his massive highlight there. He now believes the flight margin has improved and there's no direct movement on it affecting the bottom line. So that's really good. And it seemed like it was extremely positive earnings call for Blade as a business. But I'm still yet to understand where we're going to get a complete amalgamation of Blade and Joby in together, because they are very, very similar businesses, but at the same time, my understanding is the demand keeps increasing for Blade. So are they just going to keep leasing more and more helicopters to keep fulfilling that demand? I know they said at one stage that the S4 is a much better solution. But again,
I have one for you on that too, Liam. With the Blade, and with the acquisition and the timing that the Blade acquisition took place, and it's great again to have a company where we know cash burn is important, and we need to find ways to substitute that cash burn or supplement that. Now, so Joby's already bought these Blades, and they have the Blade lounges that they tout. Now, it kind of goes actually into the Adams question, which I thought was a great one, of who's financing this infrastructure play. And it now makes me think, take a company like Vertiv. For the next 5 years, till 2030, they read into all their contracts, any materials that would go up in cost would be put onto conditionally the buyer, and that would not be put on Vertiv. They would basically get all the money as material and costs went up. They would not absorb that cost. So if you have all these Blade lounges and helipads, my basic point is, what's the CapEx going to be to turn these into the Geeks charging network? And as opposed to, again, I think I need to know through Joby, again, is there an intention to transform the eVTOL world over to Geeks charging and have the ones like Surf Air, even though they're doing the firm orders from Beta, so we would kind of technically know what charging those would come out. But with the Eves and the verticals, and I mean, we know hover. So I'm just throwing eVTOL names that we know, companies that we know, but and we know that there's not going to be 50 players that win in this space. Adam said it's probably going to be about 3, maybe 5 major eVTOL players win. So if you're outsourcing this Geeks charging, but you're absorbing all of the financing of building these infrastructure networks out, what does that do to the bottom line?
Then the Electric Whisperer says, right, probably the strongest quarter yet. And says, all in a very satisfactory quarter. Well done to all the guys and girls at Joby. Yeah, look, it was.
That I agree. Yeah.
It was an immense quarter. I think it's the best quarter they've had ever, I believe. A lot of positive news there. And I don't want anyone to think we're giving Joby a hard time, given the positives and negatives of the call. We're going to do the same for Archer. We're going to do the same for Beta. We're going to do the same for Horizon Aircraft, Vertical Aerospace. I just want a honest approach going forward about everything, and we see positive or negative out of the companies.
Can I mention the CapEx thing real quick as well?
Yep.
So what I caught in there when Rodrigo was speaking was they had, I believe it was this quarter, could have been half the year, so I apologize, but I believe it was this quarter. It was a $29 million spend on basically factory readiness and such. And it was down from $78 million last quarter. I know some of this was written to the Ohio facility and stuff. For me, I'm kind of seeing an inverse arrows. I'm looking for the CapEx in these facilities to go up. I would like to see quarter over quarter raises in the CapEx spend in these facilities to be able to fab them out, to be able to hit the numbers. So again, there's, we had 300 million in Q2 go out, $245 million gap loss, the warrants and such. So, we're looking again at, let me see if this was on, at 385 to 400 million in cash. And again, this is all going towards cert production and commercial readiness, which I understand are the overarching things of what this money needs to go to. But $400 million is a lot of money that's going to be getting burnt. And we're going to need catalyst events. So when we talk about like flying in Texas and such, I think that was a real opportunity to basically state, is this another leg of the Electric Skies tour? And these are demo flights, or are we hitting Texas hard? And you're going to be seeing a Joby aircraft in the air, be it that's the conforming, well, we know it's not going to be the conforming one because that'll be based doing his test flights. But having those two other tails that we know that are out there flying and doing the Electric Skies tour, literally taking off every single day. So it did seem to be a little bit, it reminded me of the Electric Skies tour in New York, where they were doing some of that point-to-point travel and basically were proving out that landscape. But to give Joby a plus as they are flying around Dallas-Fort Worth, again, that's going to be that class airspace that's more like your LAX. I was going to look up the DFW class airspace. I'm going to take a guess and say it's class B, probably similar to LAX. So that is, though, incorporating these eVTOLs into this new range of airspace where the eVTOLs will have to be operating in as well.
Guys, quickly before we continue, look, this was an ad-free show. Do let me know, do you prefer it when it's ad-free? Look, we didn't earn a penny from this whole experience. Unlike our competitors, anyone that has ads turned on, they are making money. I'm not saying they're making much money, but they are making money with the ads involved. The only thing I do ask you to do is make sure you're smashing that like button, because there's no point us having less likes than our competitors. I may as well just turn the ads on. So make sure we're having more likes than our competitors. And you're also banging that subscribe button, because I am going to run a free giveaway right after this. Bag of Holding did fall asleep during the call. I thought you were quite quiet, not going to lie. Nice. How does everyone think about Horizon Kobe's success will lift the sector? We can talk about Horizon aircraft on a eVTOL weekly. I just want to keep this about Joby Aviation.
Yeah, but bring it back, Hal, too. Yeah, bring that question back. Bring it back to eVTOL weekly for sure.
The Electric Whisper says 1 month till flights. Yeah, honestly, my guy, cannot wait. Did he address payload? We haven't had any update on that payload. Joe Ben didn't bring up that issue with the payload. That was a question asked. Because Joe Ben didn't bring it up, I wouldn't actually expect him to come out and say it unless there was a definite problem there. So I'm just going to keep quiet on the payload until we hear any more information about it. And says we are green. We are 0.37% up. So
that's right.
Market is liking it. Eddie says Blade could keep its head barely out of water using choppers. If they can get eVTOLs in the fleet, they should be seeing more impressive revenue. I agree with that, but I also see that if they are getting increased margins, increased demand for it, they could actually benefit more by having the S4 generate revenue separately than actually putting it under Blade. You can still make money with your choppers under your Blade, and you can also make money with your EIPP, because they did say about there's opportunities to monetize inside the EIPP too. They can't get revenue in Dubai if they can't lift enough weight for long enough. We're still going on about that, my guy. He's not a good salesman as Adam from Archer, but comes off as an honest, more of an expert. Look, we're not saying Joe Ben's not an expert. Joe Ben is an expert. Joe Ben's an engineer. Adam's not an engineer. So I wouldn't expect Adam to sound like an engineer. Dubai sounded negative. Texas EIPP for a week sounded like no passengers. Yeah, I don't believe that passengers are happening. I think that's what Joe Ben kept highlighting. I think a lot of people, even one of the analysts, are getting this wrong. They're not saying they're going for passenger operations in September. They're not. They're doing it by the end of 2026. They're saying that EIPP will start in September. And as he said, it'll be with with pilots first.
Right.
And that's what he was alluding to. they'll be flying around that Dallas area, and then it will gradually progress into passengers non-paying.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Beta. And again, Beta was late to IPO in the sense of these eVTOL companies and such. But man, they have laid quite a roadmap, because just what you said there, what has Beta been doing? They've been having their own aircraft flown by their mechanics, their engineers, their basically everybody at the company. So there's your flying. So first you have piloted, and then you have piloted with passengers. I don't think Secretary Duffy paid for a seat on that aircraft, so that's flying with a passenger. And Beta has not yet progressed to flying with paid passengers. So that's still not been done there for Beta. But again, I really think that, again, we look at all these companies, and we'll talk about it more on the weekly show, you know, whether you're into hover and stuff, it's seeing a bit of roadmap of what Joby's been laying down to get to their certification. And like one of the analysts had asked, you know, basically it was around, should we expect basically when the conforming aircraft rolls out of production door, having a 12-month timeline on certification for that. So again, when we look at these other aircraft as they start rolling out the door, you know, if Joby is setting the precedence for what the FAA pilots will be doing and timing in the seats, I think we can start to scale that out and map out what these other aircraft are doing as well. And again, I think, you know, I think Joe Ben really, he wants to stick to that guidance of 4 aircraft a year. And I think there was a lot of comments that were going up that's like, Joe Ben's not a good liar, or he can't lie. And I say that in a good way. I don't want to be investing in a CEO that not even talking about selling smoke, like just flat
that
flat
is a
out
good
lying.
liar. Like, there's no benefit.
You know, and you know, it's got to be tough as a founder-led CEO, where, you know, your dream has for many years to put this electric aircraft into the air. And you know, there was the lean into the hydrogen, was it hydrogen? Let me go back through my notes. But it was through the alternative fuel source.
Hydrogen over the last 6 years, they were speaking about it, that it's 3 times more efficient than your conventional jet fuel, a lot lighter.
Was that one that Brandon spoke about?
Yes.
Okay, I was one. Okay,
no, he was more speaking of ammonia. Brandon was speaking about.
Okay. But it isn't, you know.
He did say about the benefits of hydrogen, though.
But you know, and so it brings me to 2 things. You know, with hydrogen expanded range, does that look at Joby being able to be more of a regional transport sort of aircraft if they were to go that? And again, I know that there's a lot in the community that is, if you don't do eVTOL to the definition, you are not what that other person invested in, or what that person themselves invested in. And I think we need to broaden the landscape of, again, having a.
Could you give a flying frisbee, whether something eVTOLs or not, if you're actually making money in this space? You couldn't give a. If it's not the clear definition, I couldn't care less.
If these companies continue to grow in their multiples, and they do this through not strictly air taxi eVTOL, have we not chosen a sector with CEOs that are so brilliant and genius to be able to pivot and go with what is actually going on within the sector? I mean, what we got? Let's see.
James actually put a really good point there. So he's a bit skeptical about the 3x claim, yeah?
Okay.
So do you know how he said about the weight of the fuel being a lot lighter than your conventional jet fuel?
I believe so.
Are they including the storage kit for the hydrogen as well in that weight? Because it's a catch-22 then, if the weight of the kit is the same weight as your conventional jet fuel. And yes, it's probably cheaper to run, but that whole point about the weight, the operational payload.
That also had me thinking, with the lean in or talk about hydrogen, are we looking to get away from certain battery technologies? So I think it brings me back, and James, jump back in if you got any more information or thoughts on the topic that you're speaking of there, or anything. But it's again one of the ones again, if I talk Archer, if Archer never created the defense business unit in 2024, I don't know if I could be as heavily invested into that company or believe that that vision will mature quicker than quantum computing will be here.
Yeah.
I don't know specifically. What has given me a lot of confidence in the eVTOL sector being in the eVTOL sector is the diversions to alternate fuel sources. Better word for that, but alternate fuel sources, and figuring out basically how to crack the code on these range and payload mission cases, use cases that they're going to inevitably be ones to do. And I also look at Joby where I would like to see them also progress. And I know that this can be a bit more done at the end. From what I think I know is de-icing, because there's a lot of talk about the revenue through Blade and what Joby and the S4 will be bringing in. And we know that a lot of these companies are looking to do more of kind of bordering the equator, California, Texas services and such like that. So I don't want Joby to box himself into a place where they're able to generate a higher revenue, but then when you get to Q3s and such like that, you're having a revenue drop because you can't operate your aircraft. So I think that as we look and see Joby go through the certification process, let's keep a look on the FIKIs, the IFRs, the lightning strikes, like all of these little key things that I know we think about payload and software and charging being these main things, piloted flights and distance and all that. But there are these little spark plug things that we just got to make sure we're keeping our eyes on. And I think that with the engineering teams that these eVTOL companies have amassed and built, you have a lot of knowledge in the room of how to figure that out, and you see other companies able to figure that out. And Beta Technology seems to be a good one to call too, if you need to get a little solution to some of these problems.
Were you surprised with that whole Atoms partnership? So we spoke about the build out of the hubs and the vertiports.
Yeah.
But that Joby would be shouldering a lot of the financing for that.
It does worry me. I think that the whole CapEx spend, and I think it was mentioned maybe by Paul towards the end, and we'll go back through it. We'll do a good video on it. So I'll let this be more top of the head. But it's really like almost like, where are they going to diversify their funds? And if they're not going to be continuing to raise CapEx to a $500 to $600 million sort of range, either quarter over quarter, or even expanded over that. I think for each of these eVTOL companies, they're really going to have to hone down on what mission and use case do they want to accomplish? What mission and use case do they see their aircraft truly able to master? Like, we don't have to be a jack in all trades. Like, let's master something. And if the S4 has specific specs that hone into, I'm just throwing ones out there, medevac, certain cargo missions, certain commercial missions. I'm just taking passenger air taxi off the table for all the companies at the moment. I think we lean in and see the revenue drivers, and that's again what makes these multifaceted businesses. When you looked at the defense partnership, I don't necessarily think that they loved the defense question that was thrown to them, but I do think that there are specific use cases for the S4T as well as growing out Superpilot that can be used in the ISR and such like that. So I don't think it necessarily has to be the Andrew Industries hybrid VTOL propulsion, long range, attritable, all this to make
two
you
parts.
sick.
I kind of thought with the hydrogen thing. One, extremely positive that Joe Ben said they're one of the market leaders, if not the market leader in that hydrogen propulsion.
Good point.
The only thing that kind of worried me was the analogy he gave was like, was it an Airbus A380 or something like that? It was something absolutely massive, So I can see if you're talking about 3 times the weight difference, that is immense, But when we're talking about these storage kits and everything, when we're talking about the size of an S4, like how much conventional jet fuel would an S4 hold? I presume it'll be similar to, I don't know, a helicopter or so. So if we compared the weight difference between the amount of hydrogen required on a helicopter versus the amount of conventional jet fuel required in the helicopter, the weight difference is going to be a lot finer margins than comparing it with like an Airbus A380. Like, it just, that was one thing that really didn't like sit right with me. I was like, you could have used any analogy there, and you're now talking about, I don't know, it's like me speaking about the Mini Cooper and then giving a comparison to a semi truck. It doesn't really fit the place. But Eddie says the hydrogen solution is the fuel cell, and the fuel cell would be more efficient than the combustion side, but combustion has been tossed around. James says, looks like it doesn't include the weight of the kit. It's just the fuel. Yeah. Thinking about it off the top of my head, I wouldn't believe that they're trying to include the weight of the fuel kit, because surely the fuel kit weight difference will immensely change depending on what vehicle you're speaking about. The cryogenic tanks also don't get lighter as they fly. Eddie says in 2021, Joby acquired H2Fly, bringing one of the world's leading hydrogen electric propulsion development into Joby's aviation ecosystem. Dak says Joby still has payload issues. All this flying doesn't mean jack. If they can't carry 4 or even 3, no competitive advantage over Blade's existing fleet. Yeah, look, if they do have payload issues, I can't see them trying to integrate it into Blade. However, looking at Blade, it does look like a positive moving business. However, I just don't think it's what people are here investing in. But one of you guys, I forget which one of you it was, highlighted the benefit of acquiring Blade, and it's something I really didn't see as the key benefit, but they highlighted it in the call, so fair dues to you.
Nice.
Was the infrastructure. It seems to be that was the key part, was the infrastructure of the acquisition of Blade and that existing customer base.
And to Dax's point, and I think, again, whether Joby has a payload issue or if Joby doesn't have a payload issue, I believe we were able to speak with one of the CEOs of the company. I don't know if it was on or off camera, so I won't say that part of it, but where they were saying that basically the ADS respond, like all these telemetry responders and such, as they're on the aircraft, that will not eventually be on the aircraft, they take up weight. So we kind of, as we think, like, is Joby flying with metal plates or, doing like full payload testing and such like that, that as we see through the conforming aircraft being tracked on ADS-B and having different telemetry and flight data capturing equipment in there, that would be stripped when it comes to passenger service. Now, be it if the payload is 400 pounds or to the max of 1,000 pounds that Joby says for the 4 passengers plus 1 pilot. Let's say it's 400 pounds right now. That's 400 pounds of very useful payload that can be
I think it was actually 2 separate CEOs. One of them was Brandon during a recorded interview, said about a full-scale demonstrator. And then, the other one that was a fully eVTOL company did speak about the testing equipment actually taking up useful payload.
That's true. That's true. So
it's not one thing you initially think of.
No. I was actually taken aback by that. I was like, oh yeah, that stuff does weigh stuff. So, I think, again, it's all just the companies being honest, us as the investors being honest, the companies being able to pivot, us and having thesis being able to pivot as well. And if it's strictly commercial air taxi business, I think we see that through the EIPP, that will help lay the foundation both of the adoption confidence as well as the infrastructure build out that will be coming in. Yet there's a lot that seems like in those 3 years, and we already know the beta EIPP operations weren't really supposed to start yet, and then beta was like, we're just gonna kind of start them. We're gonna go for it and start doing the basically facilitated organ transport that they did. So again, if Joby can hold 50 pounds, and if they can show that and start transporting that, and if there's a way to bring revenue in, so again, if it's not through acquiring blades, organ transport, if they're able to go out and maybe do acquisition on a different organ transport, again, building out what will be those use cases and those necessary use cases. Because I say, as you have the traditional helicopters that are more expensive, not as eco-friendly, you have a lot of companies who own these helicopters who have to meet certain net zero green emissions. So being able to cut an eVTOL and cut your helicopter out would be a great ESG. I think something like that they call it. And so again, I know we want to scale and see 1,000 of these flying in every city. It's almost like we want to look up in the air and not see a S4 or a Midnight or an Alia flying. Depending on the sale price, and again, I know that Joby's going in a different direction than sale. If we can get 1, 3, 5 of these aircraft in each city, and whether again that's replacing a search and rescue helicopter that was maybe used by fire and PD or police department, and then we get into the hospital, where if they're replacing the 1 to 2 helicopters that they have on station or on command and replacing those with the eVTOL for, again, the cheaper, more efficient, the ESG, all of those good reasons, we're having that opportunity to reach revenue before commercial passenger air taxi. And I think these companies are doing the best to lay their guidance of letting us know that passenger air taxi is still an end goal mission, but we have some things in the middle to kind of keep this boat going. And then let's get some people on here and we'll do some paid air taxis.
There was another question, and this is not just an effect on Joby. This is an effect on the whole industry, because it will be the same for each and every one of these eVTOL companies. So they said during the EIPP ramp up, is there any aspects of it that could give certification for credits? Yeah. Now, I've been doing these earnings calls for long enough to kind of sieve through some of the, excess noise. So the answer was we do see potential to accelerate the overall certification program.
Mm-hmm.
On the back of the flight tests and the data they collect.
That's right.
And they think the close collaboration with the FAA will pay a dividend. In reality, no.
You're correct.
They won't be getting credits during the EIPP. That applies for Joby, that applies for Archer, that applies for Beta Technologies. So just when you hear something positive in a answer to a question, sometimes it's not the answer to the question. It's kind of, I don't know.
You know what you got me thinking too? And again, it's a little bit of the push and pull between appeasing US and FAA versus going GCAA and going with regulators and clearly infrastructure that's saying, hey, I'm ready for you to come and do some operations here. So, and I back that off of, we said being what we heard there, where EIPP is not necessarily feeding flight data back to the FAA for certification purposes. But what we have heard through earnings calls in the past is that the GCAA does mirror the FAA quite closely, and that flight data would be being passed back to the FAA. And I'm not saying that would allow, like, let's just say you needed 2,000 flight miles for certification. I'm just throwing a random number out there. I'm not saying that flying in the UAE is necessarily going to translate to you getting those operational hours that count on your FAA side. And I'm not saying they don't either. I have to figure out how the GCAA and FAA will work in collaboration to get these eVTOLs both certified and then ramped and scaled. Because again, I think there is something larger here, and that's what can these eVTOLs do to the GDP of these countries that do adopt this technology? Because I think this is more than just allow, these are big government agencies that are coming in to have like major airspace changes. So like if they didn't see a lucrative like money on the back end, I don't really see them like having a big like need to like even start this process. It's like we'll just fly regular rotors and like go with whatever they brought us in the past. So this flip to class 3 space drones to class 5 space drones, to unmanned vehicles, to what the eVTOLs are. And, again, Joby has some great partnerships and they need to leverage those partnerships and not only give the data like they're doing with ASI, but gain that data back. I hope that ASI maybe expands their partnership and also works with the betas and such of the world, because the more that ASI can learn, maybe with Joby being that front end partner, maybe that can feed back to Joby. And this is again, Team eVTOL. We're going to accomplish this together and move forward.
This is an unpopular opinion, but I personally think Joe Ben gave us the biggest indicator that we are not getting type certification in 2026, and I'll tell you why. So they plan on delivering 2 aircraft by the end of the year. Yeah. His answer to who the customers are: there's far more demand for aircraft than supply. They're ramping up production. We've not decided our destinations yet, but Dubai and the UAE remain high on the priority list. Now, if they remain high on the priority list, that means you're not sending them for the US. But why would you not be sending them to the US? Why are you not confident you're going to send them to the US? Why would you highlight that Dubai and the UAE remain high on the priority list? Because I don't think you're confident that you're going to reach type certification by the end of 2027. Electric Whisper agrees with me too. Type cert is almost certainly in 2027. And it's not a bad thing. Like, that sounds like I'm being incredibly negative. I just want to state a fact that I can't see it happening in 2026. I don't want people to be investing their money in Joby and thinking, I'm going to make all this bank because we're getting type certification in 2026. I think there's a reason why we're not hearing them. Look, they seem to be very, very confident that there'll be flying passengers on board in 2026. They wouldn't say it if not.
That's true.
They seem very confident they're starting the IPP in September in Texas. Wouldn't they say, we believe we will achieve type conforming certification by the end of 26 too? That would be the biggest statement they could have put out there if they honestly believe that. And I think that answer to the question shows me that these 2 vehicles are going to the UAE. They're going to Dubai.
Well, and that too, it's kind of one of those things of, do you have to appease that first partner in line, or, are you going to strong arm them and again leave Sky Sports with empty vertiports and have 2 more years until you're delivering anything over to the UAE, and all of a sudden you've had a 6-year exclusive agreement for flying in Dubai, and 2 to 3 years of those you've spent without delivering an aircraft to that region. So, sometimes you got to go where the money is, and you got to go with the ones that are ready to take your product. And I would love to see Joby continue to hold them back for FAA and the IPP. Now, it was stated that in Texas and through the IPP, it would still be the non-conforming aircrafts that will be taking flight. To me, of course, I'd love to be a conforming aircrafts taking flight, but I can't rush conforming aircrafts that aren't yet built and assembled. But what I can say is I appreciate, and so like Liam, you're saying, where the maybe not liked comment is like what you're saying, but also on the other end where you said the EIPP is again kind of extending out what maybe are pre-EIPP like hard stop on having a chance of FAA certification coming through. So I think again we're going to have to learn the lessons, but we do have to have the aircraft to be able to have those in the hands of FAA pilots and all of that good stuff. So yeah, I think we need to keep pushing through this 2026 side of the EIPP. We need to learn what revenue can be brought in from the Dubai and the UAE side of business. And ultimately, it's going to be the CEOs and the leaders of these companies that are going to have to make the business decisions. We're going to do our best every eVTOL Weekly. So CEOs, if you're listening, feel free. We'll be happy to offer you the opinion every live show. But ultimately, it will be the CEOs of these companies that have to decide and disperse where these aircraft are going and what that is going to ultimately be the best decision for their company and their shareholders.
Eddie says they don't want to lose Dubai and the UAE, but I think they are committed to Texas. Yeah, I believe they will be in Texas in September. James, big shout out. I agree. It will be 2027, not 26 or 28 or never.
Okay.
I agree with you, James.
All right.
Scott Vest says, I think you're correct, Ian. Thank you so much, my guy.
Hey, Scott.
Bag says, I've been following this whole sham since the beginning. Nobody's been right about everything more than me since the start. You have been right about quite a few things.
That's fair. That's fair, Bag.
Guys, look, the insider selling activity by Joby executives and insiders. Are we all surprised at what came out of this earnings call? Will you jump across and have a look at the insider selling if you can?
Yeah. And I'm actually gonna pull Rodrigo really quick. I was curious of a statement that was made. I've seen that there's been a bit heavier selling. Rodrigo, CFO, Joby Aviation, current stocks held, percentage versus initially owned. I've heard some rumor in the community that maybe that Rodrigo will be leaving or out the door. So he's holding less than I'll get you a better thing than the AI answer, but I've heard some whispers of Rodrigo possibly heading out, and there was a comment that was made, and it lended me thinking maybe to even having a Toyota exec maybe coming in and claiming role of CFO. So once we roll through these notes, we'll make sure we get that up in a video for you as well. One thing also caught on this that has been different from the last calls is the Rob from Blade, the CEO from Blade, was nowhere to be found. So he was not answering any questions on this call, which, and you know, if you go on the pass on what I've said, I'm okay with that. So so no problems there. But yeah, we're curious to see, you know, what they do with this hydrogen, and you know, does Joby lean in further on, you know, advancing these in-house battery tech, proprietary solutions that they have, or do they look for alternative fuel models and ultimately have that be something? Because again, I think when you look at the 100% means of compliance, there's going to be certain things that the FAA is just not going to budge on, and that they're going to need you to fall in line with. And we don't yet know what that is for Joby. Yet, if it's something that Joby can maybe alter in their aircraft, we know that battery technology is set to be advancing in 3 to 5 years. You had Imperius Imperius Technologies. They were even out at Farnborough, so it's cool to see the battery tech companies actually at these air shows as well. But it's this amalgamation, or this accumulation of battery tech being able to support the aircraft. And I think again, we'll go back to, we have 3 years until we maybe have a hard stop of generosity of airspace. So we've been given airspace. So let's do the most that we can with it, with the aircraft that we have. But let's keep building. Let's hit the 2027 goals that were set earlier this year and such.
Electric Whisper says the gating factor in type certification is beginning type cert, not ending it. Again, there is almost no precedent for any aircraft ever starting TIA and then not finishing it. Facts matter. To be honest, the eVTOL sector is looking incredibly strong, apart from Archer, which could be frankly bankrupt in under 12 months. Is a good time overall. I agree with everything apart from Archer being bankrupt in 12 months. Look, I'm going to make this clear now. If Archer are bankrupt in under 12 months, I will live blend my Archer t-shirt up and eat it on air, and then I'll transfer the Hustle Buffer channel over to you, the Electric Whisperer. Is that a deal? Yeah.
All right. You know what? Yeah, Archer, keep going. I'm ready to keep working. I know Electric will hold it down. Yeah. So Dax, you might have more of the info. I know Dax has been keeping up with it. I appreciate you putting that in there. If you got any of that, like kind of facts, I know the percentage I think hits on what we've been talking, but but what I want to see is, I want to see continued lean in from Joby and from the team. I think again, it's a very tight knit team. It's like even the way Joe Ben said when he had his first jam session with Travis from Adams, I believe it was, where again, for anybody that doesn't know, like the music community, like jam session is like playing music. And the way that Bonnie Doon's laid out, the way that Joe Ben, it's kind of like more the kind of nature grassroots, like that's how we're gonna build it. I wouldn't be surprised if one of their first meetings was like literally a couple of them with an acoustic guitar in a fire pit and literally having a jam session and then creating that connection and growing from there. So it's awesome that Joe Ben seems that he's going out, he's making these connections. We still have Metropolis, who, there's a lot of parking garage, a lot of parking space. But again, I'm not trying to be the bear, but I just want to understand who's paying for the Geeks charging system. And if this is if this is an expenditure that Joby's taking under, maybe I want to see how they're looking to grow revenue on it. And when they were speaking about it, Paul was speaking about it at the very end and was kind of talking about Uber too. And it's like, so again, I don't know, I think we've seen CCS and like Tesla kind of already take that market share that of what charging seems to be. So unless, Joby has their kind of path and foot in the door, and a way to really adjust and maybe super conspiracy. I said it first if it comes true, but maybe through Toyota, maybe inversely Toyota starts to want to adopt a Geeks charging network and go from there. I don't know. I had one other thought, but if it comes back to me, I'll throw it out there.
Before the chat completely starts trickling out, I want to announce that myself and Dylan, look, this is primarily being led by Dylan. It was Dylan that brought this project up. We're thinking of starting something new. Bring in investors, retail investors, normal retail investors on to have a chat with us once a week. Maybe we can have 15 minutes. We don't really know how we're going to do it yet. We already have a few guests lined up, ready to go. But if you want to jump on with the Hustle Brothers and just have a chat, you don't have to be an expert in this, or you can be an absolute genius in this space. It really doesn't matter. True. I just want to have chats with everyday retail investors and see what you feel about the industry. You can have been in it one day. You can have been in it for the last 5 years. I don't really mind. I just think it'll be quite exciting. It'll be something different. I haven't really seen it around the place. And so everyone, give a big shout out to Dylan for that. Make sure you're jumping across to Stock Dylan and banging that subscribe button for him.
And if you're interested, send us a DM. Send us a DM so that we know, and we'll set a time up and we'll do a meet and greet and make sure everything feels comfortable for you. And it's a no pressure and it'll be super fun.
Eddie says, I have a hard time believing that Palmer Luckey would let Archer fail. Do you know what? This is a good point, Electric Whisper says. That plan can sometimes backfire. Not everyone is good on camera. And do you know what? That happened on another channel I watched. They invited a viewer on and it went terribly. I was watching a live stream. It was football, soccer. It was just a fan channel,
Okay.
And they brought a fan on, and you can imagine what they shared on the screen. Nearly got his channel taken down.
Oh my gosh!
So yes, we will be trying to monitor the best we can.
Thank you,
because there's two of us, we can mute it. Like
that
more or less.
That was a good whisper. I appreciate that.
But
that whisper was electric,
what you
man.
mean.
I appreciate it. But yeah. And Electric, send us a DM if that's something you're interested in. And again, just want to say on it, want everybody to feel comfortable. So again, it doesn't have to be video. Definitely cool with hitting the face off button and going audio. But again, just giving a chance for the retail investors to tell their story and whether it's you want to be boastful and highlight what you're loving about, your top investment in the eVTOL industry, or again, just sharing the reasons why I got you interested and really what's keeping you going. And, maybe again, when we look at those things like 2028, what your personal vision is going forward. So, but it's one that really we want to let you guys steer the conversation. So all nerves aside, and DM us if you want to have any pre-conversations just to get to know us and who we are.
Then Scott says, thanks for the coverage. You guys have a good night. Thank you so much, Scott. You're a massive supporter of the channel,
Thank
and
you,
I
Scott.
love having you around.
You have a
Todd,
great
big
night.
shout out to another channel member. Your channel is growing. Congrats. Good info today. Thank you so much, Todd. I really appreciate all the comments we get.
Absolutely.
Do you know what? Channel members, I probably should do a lot more for you. I've been neglecting an awful lot of you. Maybe, do you know what we could start doing, Dylan, with the channel members?
Mm-hmm.
So do you know how we record in massive batches now?
Yeah.
Guys, I'll be real with you. We probably record 5, 6, 7 videos at a time. I have them set to go out and they get scheduled to go out. What we might do with the channel members, I might drop all the videos in one go.
Mm.
And that way they can watch it as and when. And then I'll continue with anyone that wants to watch it as normal, and they'll just be scheduled to come out. I think that might be a nice little benefit for them.
And one I didn't run through Liam yet, and again, if channel member, if you do have a thought or an idea, especially if it's in the eVTOL sector, like, we're speaking about the e-video, we'll look to deep dive into that. If you got that thought or topic and you just kind of wanted to explain a little bit more on video, let us help you out with that, and we'll do some deep diving too. So definitely all the channel members stay connected through the DM, and I think probably able to message Liam most likely on YouTube as well. So yeah, shoot it over and we'll keep it going.
Dane, Dax Player, I can see all your comments there. I'm not going to put them up on screen just because I don't want to upset a lot of people on a Joby stream. However, I promise I'll bring you up an awful lot more on the Archer Aviation earnings. Make sure you're banging that subscribe button, because we're going to be covering all the eVTOL earnings. And yeah, we have eVTOL Weekly every week. We're going to start rolling that back out. We're just changing the channel a little bit. We have a few ideas going at the moment. Yes, we went very heavy podcast orientated for a while. The only problem is we start missing out on some videos. So there's an evolution in the channel. You've seen many evolutions with the Hustlebird channels, but yeah, we will continue to try and evolve. Dave says, I've always wanted to be a fly on the wall, but that might work. The Bag of Holding says, well, that would be fun.
One day, bag. We'll get you on here.
Guys, what has Electric Whisper says? Apparently, President Trump's helicopter. Ooh, I can't say that out loud, but
okay.
There was nearly an accident.
Interesting.
Right. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to drag this on any longer. Guys, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Make sure you're jumping across to Stock Dylan. You're showing him some love too. Guys, we have not made any money from this. We don't run ads because we want the best experience possible. The one thing I do ask you to do, though, is smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. It really does, I don't know, encourage us to keep going.
And before Liam
back, I just want to jump in and say Turtleback showed up late, but I think the report was good overall. Extremely good. Turtleback, thank you so much for showing up. Dylan, go for it.
Yeah, no, and just again, I know some people dropped off, but we said if you hang on until the end, there would be a giveaway. So
I'll do the giveaway now if you want.
You got a way to run it? Because I was like either going to think a trivia question, or if you got,
thank you.
Yeah, if you got, so it is going to be tailored towards a Joby enthusiast. So for this giveaway, it will not be Hustle Brother merch. It will not be Stock Dylan merch. We'll just say it will be tailored towards Joby Aviation. And yeah, after it, you will have to probably DM me your contact or info, but feel free if you want to call me before or whatever before I send it. But either way, we got the giveaway. So I am going to toss it to Liam whenever he is ready, and watch Dax watch Dax get the
Right.
win.
So what I'm gonna do?
Yeah,
I'm gonna run a membership giveaway here quickly.
I like it.
And then what will we say? Are we gonna have a special giveaway for the Joby one? Or are we gonna say one of the guys that win the channel membership also win the Joby merch as well?
You know, I like the channel membership. I in my gut, I feel like I want to go with a true Joby diehard that rode with the Hustle Brothers till about the very end, you know? So unless you got a special one, you got an eye on Liam, because I know we trust me. I just know in the chat we got much love for you guys and girls, and it does not go unnoticed. Sorry, bag puts them in there. It does not go unnoticed seeing you guys and girls in here and enjoying these earnings calls with you guys and girls. So
guys, jump into the chat. If you're a massive Joby investor, jump into the chat. Let us know why you should get some Joby merch. And I mean, this is official Joby merch. Come straight from Joby. I'm not messing around with you. Jump into the chat. Let me know now, because I want to know that someone's active too.
I'm gonna let's give it the 30-second for the jump in, and if not, we're gonna get a random Joby investor to get it. But Liam, you got any last thought kind of?
Yes, I'm gonna run a
what do you
I'm
think?
gonna run a membership gift. No,
we're not even last thoughts can pause. We got membership. We got free memberships going out. I like that.
Right. Memberships are going out now. So we have gifted 5 channel memberships. Scott Invest got one.
Hey.
Turtleback. Oh, big shout out, Turtleback. You just jumped in and got one.
Nice.
Doughboy has got one. KKNG has got one. And Dan TV 23 has got a channel membership.
I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. I appreciate the jump in. Let me see here. All right. I gotta see before we close it out. I think I'm going, you know what? For y'all sticking around, I got 3 winners. We're gonna give a giveaway to James. He's been hanging. He's been our man. He's been
I love
commenting.
James.
Absolutely. So hang on, James. I'll give you some info in a minute. I want to throw this one up there. Turtleback
is getting some Joby merch.
I don't know if he's going Joby X double leverage or just Joby with the Y. But either way, he's trying to get the 1,500 shares and he's going to get some merch. And this one hit my heart because we know that we're doing this eVTOL as a community. Carlos, you deserve some merch, my man. So I feel like the easiest way for me to do this, Liam, tell me if there's a better way, is to DM through X, or can they connect through the YouTube channel?
You know what, guys?
Hang on 2 seconds, y'all, so that way I make sure
Try and connect via X. Okay. However, if you don't have an X account, jump into absolutely any one of the Hustle Brothers or Stark Dylan videos.
That's true.
Just say for us to reach out to you, and we will find a way to reach out to you, whether it's, I don't know, Discord, whatever.
Absolutely. Let me just write. Let's see. You want to do final thoughts, Liam? Or
yeah. So James wants it through Discord. Yeah, we can do it through Discord if you want, my guy.
Can do.
Turtleback, are you on X, my guy? And then who else did we have? We had Carlos. Carlos, if you're still there, X or Discord, do let us know, and we'll get it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? Yeah, I genuinely think that this industry just seems to be growing more and more. Discord goes for Carlos.
Okay, my man.
Okay, so this industry just seems to be pushing further and further ahead. I'm liking what I'm hearing from Joby Aviation. Yes, we've had a few little hiccups. I can say with some of the questions there. I think, yeah, they've been diverted, but what earnings call doesn't have a few diverted questions? I've explained why. Yes, myself and Dylan will do a breakdown video, more condensed, some afterthoughts when we digest. I probably want to listen to that earnings call again. It's hard to run a earnings call and deep dive a earnings call as well, so I probably will re-listen to it. We'll reevaluate it tomorrow, Dylan. And yeah, we're going to go back on that ramp up. Any last thoughts from yourself, my guy?
You know, overall, as much as we can get in and critique the nooks and crannies of what these CEOs and these companies say, I think that's because at the bottom of it, we're diehard enthusiasts of this sector. And, you know, as much as we pay attention to it, I think that's why we're able to dissect it in the ways. So I think when we walk away from it, Joby's done an amazing job continuing to push forward with their Geeks charging system, Geeks charging network. And they're the ones that have a conforming S4 doing testing. They are going to continue to push forward. And I love to see that they're going to have more aircraft coming off the production line in 2026. So I'm going to listen to it again, and we'll be back with more for sure.
Thank you so much, guys. James, Karloff, and Turtleback. Make sure to reach out to us. We can chat through YouTube comments, whatever, and get you straight over to the Discord. But my name is Ian, one of the host brothers, here with my good old friend, co-host, Stock Dylan. Make sure you're jumping across to @Stock Dylan and show his channel some support. But yeah, from the two hustle brothers, great earnings call. And yeah, we're going to see you tomorrow.